The town of Genk, situated in the Limburg region in northeastern Belgium, the town boasts a rich cultural heritage shaped by its industrial roots and surrounded by stunning landscapes of the national park. But it also hides a motorsport haven. Welcome to the iconic karting Genk, the home of champions, and where we'll be rounding out the championship for the IAME Euro Series in 2024. The year of opening, 1983, refurbished in 2005 to conform with FIA regulations, and the FIA, the lap record set by Clement Outron in time qualifying yesterday, or Friday, with a 54.642, a very quick time, and no one at the moment, even with the new tyres, have been able to beat that time. A look closer at the circuit though, 15 turns, but it's 190 metres down the front straight, it's 160 metres down the back straight, total track length 1,360, the track widening between 8 to 12 metres, only 3 metres of elevation change, meaning it is a nice flat circuit for our racers this weekend. The track though, like we said, 15 turns in total around at the circuit, multiple hairpins, you've got fast straights, you've got sweeping corners as well out there, but all of them, these drivers, we've seen those overtakes happening thick and fast throughout all of them. But like we were saying, the 15 turns, 9 to the right, 6 to the left as you head out there. The main overtaking opportunities, like we were talking about, you see them down in towards turn 2, you see them in towards turn 6, 7, 12 and 14, but we've also seen the overtakes in towards turn 3, into turn 11, into turn 15 as well, where you get the switchback out of the final corner and on to that start-finish straight. There are plenty of places to overtake, but the top speed drivers will be reaching will be down into turn number 1, 125 kilometers an hour with an average speed of 89 kilometers an hour around the entirety of the lap. It's a fast circuit, it's a demanding circuit. Andrew, it's a driver's circuit. You join me in the comments box again. We're looking forward to this one. It's finals day.
We are indeed, and not just finals day, it's the final day of the season here in the 2024 IAME Euro Series, and it's still all to play for, particularly in X30 Mini and X30 Senior. This next run of Superheats through the morning is going to be crucial in us determining who's going to still be in play when we get to those finals. Neither of the titles mentioned can be decided outright in this next phase, unless something quite remarkable happens. But yeah, it's going to be a big moment for a number of drivers out there. We start with X30 Mini. Superheats 1 is out first, and this is a good way to get us warmed up for the day. Let's have a little look at how our drivers got on yesterday. X30 Mini, the 4th round of the IAME Euro season, kicked off here in Genk with 3 rounds of heats to decide who would be on pole position for the Superheats on Sunday. Fusion Motorsport came out fighting. A strong start to the day for Sukmani Kira, who followed up being fastest in her group in qualifying less than 24 hours ago with a race victory. A real step up for Sukmani Kira on her way to 3rd place in the intermediate classification. Her best day in her career at this level. Also strong, Daniel Mirand-Lorente, 2 heat wins for Daniel Mirand-Lorente. The Dutch driver flying the flag here in Belgium, looking for a really strong weekend. Isn't a championship contender though. That focus goes on to Will Green. Will Green looking to improve his championship score, set himself up to do so in the Superheats on Sunday, and he did a good job securing 2nd place and one of the pole positions for the Superheats on Sunday. But Daniel Mirand-Lorente, with his 2nd victory, will be the other driver on pole position for Superheat number 1. It's all to play for on the final day of the season.
And Daniel Miron Lorente's results yesterday certainly proved to the reason why he's starting on that pole position. A third and 2 wins yesterday. Really, really strong results for him for a driver who is not in contention for the championship, Andrew.
No, it's actually the first time we've seen Daniel Miron Lorente in IAME Euro Series full championship action. We saw him earlier in the season at the IAME Winter Cup, where he was also very strong. But yeah, he's been on real form this weekend. Let's take you through the grid then for the first race of the day. Daniel Miron Lorente starts on pole position, is joined by Sukhmani Kira on the front row. Oliver Warner, who has an outside chance still of winning the title, is on row 2, and alongside Christian Kobe. Achille Ray and Lorenz Lecoq start on row number 3. Achilles Peruzzi and Alfie Davidson start on row number 4, ahead of George Clark and Colby Patterson, and all British row 5. Bruno Grieling and Jules Descamps start on the 6th row of the grid. On row 7, it's Hugh Chiffet and Samuel Hougon.
George House and Mathis Brageau round out row number 8, with Maxim Bobrajov 5th in the championship, sitting all the way back on the 9th row. He'll have Julian Kotele for company alongside. The same could be said for the 10th row. Sweden's Ludwig Granqvist, who is 3rd in the championship, is starting from the 10th row of the grid. There is Isaac El Uti, who's unfortunately not, left the grid. His engine's fired up, which is good to see. Row 10, Levin Barber joining Ludwig Granqvist. There's another driver who's not going any further. That is Sammy Ilias, unfortunately. Hands up in the air, and, that looks to me like a breakdown, mechanical failure, and, I think he's out of this superheat. A little further back in the grid, row 11, Alexandre Point and Harley Musk go from that row. Kim Min-jae and Aaron Buffer go from row 12. Benjamin Karavatic go from row 13. Milo Cornell will start alongside. We've just missing out on the 894 Isaac El Uti, who is on the pre-grid. Theodore Constantinu would be on his own at the moment, then on row 14, Liam Buckley, and then of course Sammy Ilias, who also has had a breakdown, will not, I think, be starting this race. So that is a shame for two drivers who are starting at the back of the grid, and that might mean, Andrew, that they're out of contention of getting into that final.
Yeah, I'd say so. They needed a lot of positions gained in this race to even stand a chance of making it through. Remember, it's the top 36 in the final intermediate classification who go through. Only the top 10 of that 36 score some form of championship points. There's a quick look into race control. Head of race control for this weekend, David Manchester, sat in the centre there. Joanna Falcao and Sarah Blanco on hand as well, looking over the whole circuit, all the CCTV cameras out there, part of our officiating team here in the IAME Euro Series.
40 cameras out there, you can't get away with anything. Into the tram lines, first race of the day, it is Superheat 1 for Mini X30, and it's green flag and racing, down in towards turn 1. And again, the two nearly make contact between Miron and Sukhmani Kira at the start of that race. Kira's been squeezed out wide, but she manages to hold on to P3 as they make their way through. It's a breakaway for Miron and Oliver Warner, who have got away from the rest of the field as the whole pack negotiates their way around the first few corners unscathed. Into the hairpin of turn number 6, the concertina effect kicks in as everyone bunches up under braking. They stretch out again down the 160-metre back straight for the first time today, but everyone again looks pretty calm, and it's a good first opening lap there.
Yeah, it's the longest race that these drivers have had of the weekend so far, up to 10 laps in distance. But at the early stages, Daniel Miron Lorente, job very simple for Miron Lorente in this race, win it, and it'll be pole position for the final later on this afternoon. No championship pressures for the driver flying the flag for the Netherlands here this weekend. So he can get on with the job in hand of securing that pole position, and it's Oliver Warner who's behind him at the end of lap 1. This is a good start for Oliver Warner. Oliver Warner has a very, very slim chance mathematically of winning the title. If it's going to happen, this is what he needs to do. Keep himself at the front and hope those a little bit higher up in the order still to come in the second superheat have problems. It's been a professional display from Oliver Warner so far this weekend. And right now, Anthony, they're in that rhythm, just working together at the moment, trying to get that gap out to third place to be a little bit bigger fight later on in the race.
Yes, indeed. Look further back in the field then. Of course, we've got championship protagonists who are a little further down in the order in the form of Maxim Bobrajov and Ludwig Granqvist. Now, I can see Bobrajov has made his way up 4 places into 13th place, but where is Ludwig Granqvist? He's down to 22nd. He's not had the race he wants. On board with Lorenz de Kock in the 897, who's currently running in P11, again, a driver who's not had a good start. You can see there, he's just not got the train. You lose one, you lose 5 places, and he's down even more now as he crosses the line. Where is he? P14. That's not the start he wanted.
No, not at all. Good move there from Bruno Grieling through into 3rd place. Past Sukmani Kira. The concern for Ludwig Gwanquist, you mentioned they're down in P22 and now P20. He's a driver on the outside at the moment at the end of the intermediate classification after the 3 rounds of heats last night. He's actually below the cut-off at the moment at the top 36, so never mind being part of the challenge to Will Green's championship lead. At the moment, it's looking like the Swede won't even make the final.
Yeah, it could be a real shock there for him. Bit of action here as, once again, Sukmani Kira trying to get down the inside of Grieling, but getting denied the chance to do so. I think at this point, you really need to think as a driver of what you want to do. You need to start working together. You need to try and close that gap. You can see the gap that's opened up between the front 2 groups here. Miron and Warner have just broken away right now. George Clark, you can see in the OMS, a brand new livery in the OMS. It looks absolutely astonishing, but currently running in P5. Is up 4 places, so he's having a good race right now. But again, just needs that assistance from the likes of Davidson and Kobe behind, maybe, to see if we can try and close up to the field in front. There's a look at the temperatures this morning. 16 degrees. It was a chilly morning. There was a lot of rain, thunderstorms last night. Again, another green circuit this morning, and a track temperature of only 25 degrees. So again, it needs to warm up. Remember, it was in the 40 degrees yesterday, the track temperature. So it's very slippy out there for the drivers.
Yeah, it's a little bit tricky for them. We're on the 4th lap of this race. Keep an eye on Bruno Grieling, because you can see with the tyre graphics there. Thank you to the team down in the pits, down on the pre-grid for their information. Bruno Grieling has got a half set of new tyres on board for this Superheat, and he's using them to good effect at the moment. He's looking quick in sector number 1. He's just set a personal best in sector number 2, and he's catching this top 2 now. In fact, not catching, he has caught them. So it's a top 3 now. So we're in the middle phase of the race. Sukmani Kira working hard there, again in 4th place. Davidson has got through into 5th place. Really impressive weekend for Alfie Davidson. I was having a little chat to him earlier in the weekend. He feels at home now in this power grade of X30 Mini category. He doesn't race it all the time in his national racing, but this has been a good performance, a big step forward in the IAME Euro Series rounds. He's normally been around 20th place so far this season, so it's good to see him there in the top 5.
Yep, certainly is. Keeping an eye on this one now. We're starting to see those little racing lines, the temptation racing lines that drivers pull out. They just dip out the slipstream a little bit to assess what's happening, and you're just going to get a realisation here. This could be a move from Warner into the final corner. No, he's not going to go for it. He stays behind, and he knows that he's got Grieling behind. But again, he'll look behind even further. Sukmani Kira is still there, just behind. Then there's a little gap between himself, Davidson, Kobe. George Clark now has gone backwards down to P7, but it's not the end of the world. He can still latch onto the back of them. And there could still be a large group of drivers here. We've seen it. It can take 1 or 2 moves max, and you've got a 10-kart battle for 1st place in the mini category.
Yeah, especially if the move is picked through this part of the circuit into turn 7. It's quite tight through that chicane. This is where, you know, the handling of the kart through sector 2 is so key. And after the end of the long weekend, we got a lot of rubber laid down. Yes, we did have a big amount of rain overnight, but I don't think it's quite washed the surface as much as 24 hours before. Yeah, a gap at the moment, what is it? About 1.4 seconds between 4th place and 5th place. Monica is just holding there. She's within range that if these top 3 start to fight, she'll be on them. But I'd say Alfie Davidson, again, is also still within range, especially with another 4 laps to go. This is a replay on board earlier in the race. This is on board with the 897. That's how close it could be. That's a little locking of front bumpers and a bit of tyre smoke off the 823 there. That was Samuel Hugon from France, who was trying to be overtaken by the 897 of Lorenz de Kock.
It was indeed. Action here, though, and it's all changed a little bit. Miron Lorenzes down to 3rd place. Warner and Grieling have both got through, so again, we're seeing those changes. And again, keep an eye on it, because we're going to see more. Grieling to the inside. Here comes Miron as well, and Warner, as soon as he gets up to the lead, is back down to 3rd place. And these overtakes, exactly what we're talking about. Sukmani Kira is right back on the scene and is going to be able to join this group if we see any more overtakes, and we are going to see more. Miron Lorente down the inside, Warner's going to follow, and now Greeling, as soon as he was into 1st, he's back down to 3rd, and you can see already, look at the speed they've managed to carry through the corner. But again, we get onto this start-finish straight, that slipstream will kick in, the tow will kick in, and now you're going to have 4 of these karts absolutely line astern here going in towards turn number 2. No changes this time around, but we're only on lap 8 of 10. They've gone early right now, Andrew. This is going to be a long last couple of laps for these 4 drivers.
Yeah, and it's good news for the likes of Davidson, Kobe, House, Clark. They could all come back into this battle in the latter stages. We have seen changes for the lead through the heats yesterday. Remember, Jarlath Sayre nearly took a race win and ended up a long way down the order when it all came into the battle to blows late on in the race. Bit of news further down the order. Levin Barbier is having a really good race. He's up 10 spots. He's one of those drivers on the outside looking in based on scores from last night, but that kind of gain could see the Belgian back into the final. Similarly, Alexandre Point from Luxembourg is having a good run. Maxim Bobrishov is doing the business of qualifying through. Remember, he won here last year in the final, so don't count out Maxim Bobrishov when we do get to that final, if he can hold himself in that position. Good run from Xie Huafei as well. The driver there in the 892 up 4 places to 9th. These are all drivers who at the moment are due to be through into the top 36. Battle has calmed down a little bit, Anthony, the last half lap or so. I think the drivers are just building themselves up. They're on the penultimate lap of this race. They're aware that Kobe, Davidson, House, Clark, that's got a bit of pace in that group, and they need to do a bit of work to make sure they don't completely fall out the back when they inevitably start fighting on this last lap.
Yeah,
it's about to come.
Exactly. I mean, 4 karts is already too many for the likes of someone leading the way, and there you can see Miron Lorente going defensive into turn 11. So again, that's just brought everyone back into play once again. Warner and Greeling not going for it. But yeah, any lunges like this, and you've got those trios behind, they're going to close in. Again, Miron Lorente, a much tighter line going into 14. He's just trying to cover off anything that may come his way. But he puts himself in a real predicament here down the back straight as we go on to the final lap of this race. In towards turn 2, no lunges right here. But again, this is where the second group can dig deep right now and close right in on these front 4. Again, it's calm so far, Andrew. No one's gone for the lunge just yet. Here's turn 6. Sukmani Kira to the outside. This is a similar move to what she did yesterday, and it's worked out well for her here. She's back into 3rd place. Can she get 2nd place? She's going to look to the inside. The answer's no. She stays there behind. It's now down to Miron and Warner. The gap's opened up. It's a 2-horse race. Who could it be?
This is going to be a close finish. Oliver Warner's got to think carefully about it. This is a decent score for him right now in terms of the championship, but he wants that victory. He's looking to the outside. Daniel Miron Lorente, in come the others as well. Kobe's there. Davidson's also there. It's going to be one last opportunity for Oliver Warner to get through. Can he find it down the inside? Daniel Miron Lorente closes the door. Kira's going to hold on for 3rd place. It's still not done. It's the run to the line. Daniel Miron Lorente just wins Superheat 1 and will be on pole position for the final later on this afternoon. Oliver Warner takes a brilliant 2nd place. It puts him in 6th at the moment in the intermediate classification, but that could improve based on results in the Superheat 2, which is yet to come. Another really good result for Sukmani Kira. She is having a fantastic weekend. There in 3rd. She is at least guaranteed the 2nd row for the final, and depending on how Will Green gets on in his Superheats yet to come, it could even be the front row. Bruno Greeling, really good play with the tyres there, up 7 spots to finish 4th. And Alfie Davidson impresses yet again in the top 5.
Yeah, it does. And as well, that win keeps Will Green away from claiming full 10 championship points here.
It does,
because he's second. He can't beat Daniel Miron Lorente. So that's certainly going to make it interesting for the championship going into the next Superheat in a few moments' time. But there is a look at your provisional classifications at the end of that one. Miran Lorente from Warner, Kira from Greeling, Davidson from Kobe, House, Clark, G finishing in the top 9. Maxim Bobrajov with a good race, running out the top 10. Grand Christ recovered back to P11 at the end of that race. We didn't say much about him, but 9 places he ended up gaining, 8 places he ended up gaining in that race. Alexandre Point finishing in 12th place ahead of Samuel Hugen. Then it's Patterson from Barber, Buffa from Peruzzi, Mus from De Kock, Brajo from Decon, Cortele from Milo, Min-Jae Kim from Ray, Konstantinou, Karajavich and Buckley El Houthi finishing in the 29th place. Only the one retirement, and it was effectively a non-starter. Unfortunately, Sammy Ilias out of the final, out of the Superheat before it even started.
Yeah, real shame, and that'll be the end of the weekend for the 881. Let's have a look at some of the highlights from that one. This was us rolling out. This is the problems that we saw for Isaac El Houthi on the pre-grid. Eventually was able to get back out on circuit and join the main pack. But unfortunately, there's that. Oh, that's what happened to Sammy Ilias. I think that was just cold tyres. I think that was a mistake, warming up the tyres and got stuck in the grass. I say, the track is very dry and very rubbered in, but offline in those grass runoffs, it is a bit moist in there, so that's a real shame for Ilias Sami there. On board, this was the view on board with Lorenz de Kock for the start. Always a bit tense through these runs into turns 1, 2 and 3, but everybody who was at the start just about made it through. Just about. You can see there 3, 4, 5 wide in the background, all slotting into a single file line as they exit out in towards turn 4 and 5 on that opening lap. This was turn number 6, down the inside on lap number 2 for Lorenz de Kock, and again, those places gained in the early stages were good. It was just later on where we'd slowly start to fade down. Ended up 19th place at the end of that race, dropping down 13 places. That was the first change in the front sections there. Bruno Greeling really having a good show, pushing himself forward throughout all the races. Again, Lorenz de Kock making these moves, but it was at this point where he's right down in the field. You can see it. They're still communicating with the mechanic. This was the closest moment here. Look at that tyre smoke off the back. And how close was that for Samuel Hugon to getting a puncture just on the back of his car. Back here, though, the lead changes happened super early, Andrew. This was this surprised me. Yeah, it surprised me too, that especially in the longer race, that Warner went that early and did well to keep us part of the main group. It opened things up. Greeling tried to take the initiative. This was a really nice move from Daniel Miron Lorente. I've been really impressed with his reading of the races so far this weekend. That was key. He took the initiative back with that move. Well, straight back after Bruno Greeling had done the move down at turn number 7. Great driving as well from Slikmani Kira. This was on the last lap of the race to get herself back up to 3rd. And Oliver Warner, I think with a few more laps, could have maybe made the move on Daniel Miron Lorente, but simply ran out of time. Daniel Miron Lorente held onto the lead, takes the win, takes pole position for the final later on today. Oliver Warner's 2nd place by my calculations, and I should stress for the first time today, ladies and gentlemen, these are very provisional. He's just still in, but depending on how in a title picture, but that could change depending on how Will Green does in the next race.
Indeed, and that race is coming up now. It is Superheat 2 for Mini X30. That is the next one that's heading out onto the circuit. And again, I'm seeing from the data that's been provided by the team down there's a flurry of new tyres going on karts from like the midway back in the grid backwards. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But again, main focus on this one, Will Green. We've just said to him, we've just said to ourselves that he can't score maximum points now, of course, of Daniel Miron Lorente's win just there. But he can hold on to 2nd with a win here. But again, he's got a 4-point buffer right now because he could end up promoting Sukmani Kira to 2nd, all of that. There he is on your screen. We caught up with him after yesterday's racing. Here's what he had to say. Will Green, superb performance for you over the course of this weekend. Of course, you're fighting for a championship as well in this one in the mini category. Let's talk about that race. Again, not ending the way you wanted to, but good points, and you start on pole for tomorrow in Superheat 2.
Yeah, I'm really glad about that. It's just a bit frustrating how it ended on a Battenberg, but I'm so happy with 2nd and starting on pole for the Superheat number 2, so I'm really happy with that.
Yes. Let's talk about tomorrow, because of course we've got weather conditions, as mechanic steps in front of us. It's fine. But let's go with tomorrow, because again,
pressure's going to build, isn't it? Lots is going to be happening. We just don't know. What are you hoping to achieve tomorrow?
Well, I just hoping to win the championship is my biggie, saying just whatever it takes, I'll do, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, best of luck. Well, let's see what you can do tomorrow, but congratulations for today.
Thank you.
Indeed, nearly getting taken out by that straight mechanic there yesterday, but he wasn't phased at all. Yeah, like you say, really important race for Will Green on this one, but as well for others, because Yannick Babacek, who had not a great qualifying, 36th in qualifying, starts this one on the 3rd row of the grid. Now, crucially, he's on the inside row, and as we've seen all the way throughout the course of this weekend, the inside row helps out massively, but his results 9th, a 5th and an 11th yesterday. Good results. He certainly made up places, but he's got some hard work ahead of him.
He has, but he has got the opportunity, and I agree fully with you there, Anthony, that 5th place, not a bad spot to start this race. With bit of housekeeping, because at this stage of the season, drop scores are coming into effect.
Yes.
So a reminder of the rules for everybody. Across the 4 rounds, is a big thanks to the marshals and the track workers. Without their dedication, motorsport would not be possible. Every driver who has done all 4 rounds, they drop their worst final intermediate classification and they drop their worst final. We'll get onto that more in due course. Here is your grid. Will Green and Jarlath Say on row 1. Antoine Venant and Bruno Priam start on row 2. Zdeněk Babacek and Noah Grenier start on row 3. Tony Cachafiro and Harry Williams go from row 4. Milan Biku and Nahil El Gahoudi start on row 5. Ben McCluffrey and Lewis Boots start on row 6. Row 7, it's Daniel Ferguson and Austin Newstead.
Row number 8 is Aurélien Lemaire and Antoine Boots, who have both deployed fresh tyres. Hadit Sferi and Guido Ebegeni round out row number 9. Lorenzo Di Pietrantonio and Andrea Pavel, or Luca Pavel, I should say, on row 10. Eden Vallejo and Lorenzo Vallejo round out row 11. They'll have David Agden and Nahil Padovani on row 12. Orion Meta and Mason Hibbert go from row 13. Look forward to seeing what they can do. Isaac Zari and Senna Shelikans round out row 14. The 15th row of Longitano and Bailly, unfortunately, are not present on the grid. So 2 drivers already out of this race before it started. You've got your finger up in the air.
So championship scenarios for those keeping an eye on this. There's 3 drivers in particular you need to keep an eye on in this race. Green, as mentioned, Babacek. Also keep an eye on Bruno Priam, starting in the 2nd row of the grid. For Babacek and Priam, drop score scenario is pretty straightforward. They've both had a bad one at some point earlier in the season. So any points that they score from being in the top 10 or holding the top 10 of that table down in the bottom right-hand side of your screen, they'll get those points. It's a very simple add-on. For Green, it's a little bit different. His worst final intermediate classification score so far this season was last time out at Wackersdorf, where he got a 7th. So if he can hold himself 6th or higher, he's going to be scoring more points, but it's going to be the delta between wherever he finishes and that 7th from Wackersdorf. We will keep you up to date with all of the scenarios through the course of this one. Will Green, in a way, forget the maths. Get a race win. That's the simple message for him in this race, because it'll give him the front row for the final and a big haul of points in the championship into the tram lines. Here we go then. Superheat 2 is go. 10 laps underway here at Karting Genk. It's a very even start across the front row of the grid, but it will be Green who leads off of turn 2 for the first time. There's a little bit of action in the rear of the field, but I think everybody is still running in this one. Who is in trouble? It's the 837. I think that was a driver from the midfield. That's Nahil El Gahoudi. That's a real shame for Nahil El Gahoudi, because he was starting on the 5th row of the grid. But it's Green at the moment, not clear, but still at the front of the order. Jarlath Say has had a good start as well. Antoine Venant has had a really good weekend so far. In 3rd, that's getting a little bit rough and tumble in the middle of the pack. One of the GGMs is around, as is the 908. That is Isaac Zari, who's gone from that one. As I say, it was one of the GGMs that was in trouble. This is what can happen sometimes in a Superheats. Is it Luca Pavel who's gone? These are all drivers trying to make up positions from outside of the top 36 overnight. Change for the lead. Venant had taking it away from Green, but Green at the end of the first lap has wrestled it back.
But he's not going to hold it for much longer, I don't think, because Bruno Priam is right there, and we've seen what Bruno Priam did from the back of the pack all the way throughout yesterday. Look, remember, he qualified 38th, his result 17th in the first, a win and a 4th from the back of the pack. Now he's starting at the front, he takes the lead, and now we could see him break away, but he's not going to last long here because the train know that he's quick. The train know that he's a risk out there, and they are going to work against him right here, and now he's down to P5. It's Green back in the lead of this one. Antoine Venet, I believe, is there in 3rd place right now. Jarlath Sayer holds on to 2nd place, but all of this is all spanning out into something. It's Harry Williams that steps up now into P4 as he tries to push his way through, but look at this, it's a big train of drivers here right now. Zenit Babacek, he's not had the start I think he wanted in this. He's dropped down to 8th place.
Yeah, and these are 2 drivers at the front of the order who know each other very well. Will Green and Jarlath Sayer racing in 2024, both national and continental seasons in water swift powered categories against one another. They are rivals, you know, they're on different teams and they're always competing for those victories, irrespective of what level they're racing at. But right now, they need to work together. The frenemies term comes out because they need to break away, particularly from the rapid Bruno Priam, who's now back up to 3rd. Milan Biku is the fastest driver out there on second. Oh, lovely move there from Antoine Venet down the inside of Harry Williams, is back up to 4th.
Nicely done indeed, but again, all those little overtakes, they open up the gaps because look at this, Green and Sayer have broken away, and like you say, I don't expect these two to fight right now. I think they're going to work together. They're going to try and get away from that chasing pack because, again, Green just needs to focus on winning this race. If he drops down any positions in this, he will be losing that front row start for the final later on today, and he'll lose vital championship points that he most desperately needs. You're seeing different racing line there. Sayer, well, he was looking to the inside of the exit. That's an interesting line there. We're only lap 4 of 10. If they start battling now, I'll be really surprised, Andrew. Yeah,
I'll be surprised as well. Jarlath Sayer's race pace has been really, really good this weekend. He had a bit of bad luck in the first round of heats. Would have felt he had the pace to win that race, and that would have had him starting, well, I'll say a little bit further up on the order. He recovered back across the course of the day to take that front row grid slot, but he would have wanted to be on pole. He wants to win this race, but there's a long, long way of this one to go. And look at Bruno Priam. It's just gone purple through Sector 1, Sector 2, and is crossing the void at the moment between that chasing pack and the top 2. This has been a very impressive run for Bruno Priam. He's a home favourite. He knows the circuit well. He won here last week in the regional championship in preparation for this final round of the IAME Euro Series season, and he is going to be a threat in the second half of this race. 1 minute 1.562 last time around, 0.2 quicker than the front pair, and it'll be interesting to see how Sayer plays this when Priam catches Anthony, because he is going to catch.
Yes.
Does he go for the lead? Does he feel he's got a little bit more pace than Will Green at the moment? Will Green, meanwhile, he's got to keep it calm. He is keeping it calm, but again, the key today is championship over necessarily being outright winner in these races.
Oh, again, different racing lines forming there. Sayer is trying to just wrestle Green to make a mistake, I think. And every time he does that, like you said, Bruno Priam will close in.
Yes.
And I think straight away, he's not going to wait around. He's going to be the instigator of this lead battle. And I think it's going to be happening in this lap, maybe the next lap. And as soon as he does that, Grenier's back into play. Williams, Babacek is back into play. Venet is back as well. And they're all still there just behind. It's a long train of drivers. I want to have a quick, before this battle kicks off, to which it will very soon, I want to talk about some drivers further back. Mason Hibbert, great racer him so far. 11 places gained. He's pushed up to P15 now. He's really helping himself out get into that final later on today, because again, a lot of drivers who were starting at the back there really needed to earn those places in this race. Right, it's 3 karts now. Again, different racing lines. Sayer can take a much tighter line on the exit. Maybe a little bit of communication there between the two drivers. I saw a nodding of heads there very briefly between Green and Sayer. And they've backed off a little bit here. Now that could give the green light to Bruno Priam to just attack now. We didn't see anything on that last lap. Could it be on this lap? Big check over the shoulder there for Will Green. And Sayer's going to go for it down the inside. Here comes Priam as well, down the inside as well. He does it. And now Green is down to third. That is not what Green wants. Green needs to win this race.
Well, I think he's going to be not happy with that, but he might be okay. He's got a bit of an advantage over here. He's trying to go around the outside. The other two are concentrating on each other, and Will Green has stepped straight through. What a brilliant move from Will Green. We call him Mr. Sunday, and he's woken up with some fight today, but back comes Sayer up the inside in a bit of a... I don't think we've seen many overtakes through turn 10 this weekend, but that was a brilliant one from Jarlath Sayer. The fight is on now. Priam switches back to the inside through 12. Brilliant move again. Green once again is down to third place. We'll see the points update for that intermediate classification at the moment, but the bigger concern for Green now is look at everybody else that's come in. Grinier's there. His title rival Zdeněk Babicek is there as well. 3 laps to go.
They've gone super early here. This is going to be a long 3 laps for any of these drivers as they all start to defend. Sayer leads the way at the moment from Priam Bruno, who sits there in second. There's a look at your intermediate classifications right now. Defensive lines coming in. Here's Noah Grenier trying to get the switch back on Will Green. He tries to go to the inside, but all the drivers hug that inside line massively, and the rest take the normal optimal line. Look at this now. It is one long train. Any one of these drivers could take it, and Zdeněk Babicek makes his way through. He's up into P4. This is what he needs. He's a dark horse, is Zdeněk Babicek. He's done a great season so far, and again, look at him. He takes the normal racing line. He sweeps back. Green tries to do it as well, but the pack is all in one long train here. This is a long way to go. Any one of these drivers could win, Andrew.
It could indeed. This is potential. I was about to say potentially the most dangerous point of the weekend for Will Green in his title bid. He just needs to get it home in a decent position in this one. He's having a look down the inside of Priam. Priam's going down the inside of Sayer for the lead and has got it. Green steps through into second place. Grenier in the orange helmet is there as well. Where is Babicek in all of this? I think he's around in 5th or 6th place. In fact, yes, he's just hopped back up to 6th place. This is a tense one. The title picture is going to roll on here. Will Green, as things stand, can't secure it in this race, but he can take a big step towards doing so and knock a number of other drivers out. As points are standing, I reckon Priam's still in there. Babicek's still in there as well. They're all in this race, but everybody else has come to the party now. I think Biku and Boots is getting involved. What a drive from Antoine Boots. Up 7 spots. As Green looks around the outside, he's run wide. He'll have to give that one back potentially. He's kept it on the road. There'll be a question of did he run a little bit too wide? Down the inside again goes Bruno Priam, so that's sorted itself out. Onto the last lap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and more could still win this race. Green sits to the inside once again, takes the lead back away from Bruno Priam, and Harry Williams is now on the scene. Where has Williams come from as Green's out wide and has lost 4, 5, 6 positions. Grenier's down the inside. Green's nearly out on the grass as through to the front comes the 809. Jarlath Sayer has just gone from 5th place to the lead in one sector.
Absolutely fantastic. How close were they on the exit? And Green's in trouble. He was squeezed there onto the grass, but he's fine now. He's back into it. And they've hit the flip-flops. They have, and into the barriers. Drivers out of this race, and it is Zdeněk Babicek, second in the championship, is out of the Superheats on the final lap. There was another involved there. Priam Bruno's gone down to 10th place. I think it was Peter D'Antonio who's gone backwards as well. But back at the front here, Sayer leads the way by half a second. Antoine Vernet, is he there? No, it's Williams. Harry Williams in second place. Jarlath Sayer's going to take the win. It's Williams in second. And look at Milan Baku takes third place. Well, I don't even think we said his name.
What a brilliant run for Milan Baku at the end. Let's catch up though. Where did Green come in? He came in 7th place. It's dropped him to 4th in the IC, the final IC. Now that's not a complete disaster, but what has happened to Priam? Priam held 9th in the race. That will convert through to 8th in the points. He's still in play. He's still in play by 2 points by our calculations here in the box, but he's just in play. The other question, where is Babacek fallen down to? Well, he's definitely not in the top 8. And I think he'll not have scored any championship points with that result. I think he'll still make the final. He's had decent scores across the weekend, but that is a bitter, bitter blow for Zdeněk Babacek, who had difficulties in qualifying at the start of the weekend, a topsy-turvy qualifying session in the rain, and has fought his way back, had got ahead of Will Green at a stage there in that race, but that was an almighty dramatic finish to Superheat number 2. The final for the minis will be at 1:30 local time. There is your provisional result. Jarlath Sayer, what a job by Jarlath Sayer, with a 1.5 second win ahead of Harry Williams. Third for Milan Biku. Antoine Venant in 4th place. 5th for Daniel Ferguson, up 8 spots in that race. Noah Grenier was up and down like a pogo in that race and finished in P6. Will Green 7th. It's not the result he would have wanted, but he has still improved his championship score by being 4th in the final intermediate classification there. Luka Pavel, what a drive for GGM. Up 12 spots to 8th. Bruno Priam in the end in 9th. 10th for Austin Newstead. Newstead will be in the final, but unfortunately I think that is the end of Newstead's title hopes mathematically. 11th Antoine Boots, 12th for Nahil El Gahoudi, Guido Ebageni 13th, Louis Boots and Aurelien Lemaire completed the top 15. Right, let's take a breath and have a look at some of the highlights of that one. And we always knew it was going to be a tense race with a number of the championship contenders. Their round at the very start was the 837 of Nahil El Gahoudi. Nahil El Gahoudi, with that spin, right to the back, off the pack, fought himself back into top 12 there, Anthony. That was a superb drive.
Fantastic drive, but you can get that in these mini categories. That was the disaster in the background there, unfortunately, for a couple of the drivers. Ivik Zari, one of those, the other, Luka Pavel, who amazingly, I think, managed to keep in the race in that one and came away with a good result in the end of that one. Certainly pushed himself up, came 12 places, finished P8, so that's a fantastic recovery as well. Action at the front here, because yes, we were bang on when we said it. When Bruno Priam closed in on those drivers, he really instigated that battle. He did take the lead in the early stages of the race, but again, with everyone working together, they were really trying to push him right to the back, weren't they? They did not want him to get away at all. They did not want him to be at the front and try and drive away because they knew how much of a risk he could be. But that also came with another risk, because with 3 laps to go, there were about 15 karts battling for the race lead.
They were indeed. That was a brilliant move by Bruno Priam to get himself back up into 3rd place. It then set about catching the leaders. That was a superb move as well from Antoine Venant down the inside into turn 7. This was the move from Sayer to take the lead of the race at the start of lap number 7. Priam there in 2nd place. Green, this was superb, just keeping to the racing line. Sayer and Priam, you can see them check over to the left and go, oh no, what have we done here? We've let Will Green step through and retake the lead of the race, but it was not done there because Grenier in the chase peloton group was closing in and would bring more drivers back into play. This was the move by Sayer. I do not know how did he find the grip there on the inside of turn number 10 to retake the lead. Then it really, really got spicy out there as more drivers came into play. As say, Grenier was there, Ferguson, Williams. This was a bit of danger for Will Green because all of a sudden he was in a nice trio, sat at the front of the field knowing he was going to get a good score, and it just got a little bit close. This was the move around the outside from Green, runs a little bit wide there ahead of Priam, but Priam would return down the inside into the next move. But then these final 2 laps, Anthony, what a story.
What a story indeed. And I've got to say, it's a huge shame for Zenit Babacek. You can see him here right now. He's in the middle of that trio just behind. He hit that curb, but then everyone went wide, and then he got the inside line. This bit here, the pinch. Oh, how close could you get? That moment there could have ended it for Jarlo Sayer, but he squeezed his way into the lead of that race and went onto it. It was down into this next corner here where it all went wrong. Zenit Babacek and I think Lorenzo Di Pietro Antonio getting caught out in this one. Watch Zenit Babacek's in the middle. Yeah, he just turns in. There's another cut there. Oh, and he hits Bruno Priam as well, and unfortunately puts those two in the tyres, and there it is from another angle. They wipe out the flip-flops as well. That certainly wasn't good for them. But that released the front of the pack with that moment there, and thankfully both drivers look okay there. But for Jarlo Sayer, no drama for him at all, and he actually promotes himself up to the inside of row 2 for that final, and with that win. That's absolutely superb. And the biggest question we can take away from that is, well, Will Green being dropped down to 4th. He starts in the 2nd row, and those championship points as well.
He has lost a couple of championship points.
But it's not the end of the world.
It's not the end of the world. I think he's still strengthened his position.
Yeah.
Versus where he was at the start of the weekend. So so that is a positive. And
especially with Zenit Babacek.
Babacek and Priam are the only two drivers who can still beat him, and they're further down the grid than him in the final. That's all to come. We've got to move on because X30 Junior are out next for the first of their 2 Superheats. Let's have a look at the action from yesterday. X30 Junior kicked off their 3 rounds of heats here at Karting Genk. All eyes on Riley Cranham to see if he could take the lead for Fusion Motorsport as Harrison Mackie, champion-elect in this category, sits this weekend out. There's still a good battle going on for 2nd place in the championship. It was a good day for both Zach Green and Ty Buckley, who fought through across the course of their races. It was an open class, 5 different winners across the course of Saturday, Green being one of them. Quinten van Leeuwen getting involved. Riley Cranham, as mentioned, did take the lead in the Fusion team to win one of the heats. Just Mulder impressed as well, but it would all be down to the last round of heats to see who would emerge on pole position for the Super Heats on Saturday. Dan Alleman had the opportunity to put himself in the clubhouse as the intermediate classification leader, and he took that opportunity in the penultimate race of the day. He emerged on top and will start on pole position for Super Heat 1 on Sunday.
And on pole, he will start for this one after those 2 wins and a 3rd. Jos Mulder will start alongside him on that front row of the grid. Arthur De Donker and Matteo Mellis going from row 2. Devin Hagland and Jakob Bashler round out row number 3. They'll have Senna Munir and Elvis Kurakowskis on row 4. Stid de Rademacher and Federico Svadelati round out row 5. They'll have Ben Smith and Nikita Nikishov on row 6. Ellis Latman and Gilles Herman, who rounds out row number 7.
David Minchuna and Andrea Galimberti start on the 8th row of the grid. Carlo Redondo and Sam Woolley go from row number 9. Rob Pinheira and Flavio Cara start on row 10. Faydan Papaphilippou starts on row 11 and is joined by Veer Chopra. Ji Xiao Chen starts on row 12 alongside Dennis Kozlovsky. It's a 26-strong field completed by row 13. Angelina Simmons tyres and Jack Doe.
For anyone with an update on the championship, well, Harrison Mackie not racing. He's here, but he's not on track. He's secured, and there's no real championship fight on in this race. You have got Nikita Nikishov, who's 8th in the championship, starting on the 6th row of the grid, but there's no other championship competitors in the top sort of 10 in this race. So again, this is effectively, this is a super heat just to determine who could be starting on pole position. And at the moment, Dan Alleman has got the prime opportunity of that one. He's got 3 points. He's starting on pole position. He could be the driver really ruffling feathers in the lower divisions in the championship, because he's not a championship contender at all. Here we go into the tram lines. Lights go green. We are racing down in towards turn 1. It is a great start for the inside row. Alaman De Donker and Hagland getting through. Where is Jos Mulder? You can see him with the green helmet on the victory lane. He's down to P4 now as he tries to slot his way through, but he can't. He stays there. For the rest of the field, it's a clean start. They all get through into the braking zone of turn 6. A little bit late there. Now Jos Mulder Arnold is under pressure from one of the, I think that's an RSD cut, that might be Sedimier trying to get for the move done, but he stays just behind as they head down in towards turns 7, 8 and 9 for the first time.
Yeah, good starts for Dan Alleman, controlling this one from the front of the field. That simple job that he's got in this race, stay at the front, take the win, will be on pole position for the final later on this afternoon. I think he could also actually do it with a second place, because yes, he's got a 3-point advantage over the rest of the order before the start of this race. On board with Devon Haaglen here from the Netherlands, racing with Fusion Motorsport. The wildcard entry this weekend, started 5th. So I think he had a little bit of a difficult time out there, but has been able to wrestle his way back up to 2nd off that first lap. Now Dan Alleman in front by around 3.5 tenths, although that gap is going down. It's going down, especially as Haaglen steps down the inside and takes the lead of the race. Dan Alleman allowed that one, didn't fight it too hard on the apex. He may have caught him by surprise, and Alleman's not able to get back down the inside into one of his favourite parts of the circuit, into turn 7. Well, new race leader Devon Haaglen is looking to break away from Alleman, and Arthur de Donker there as well. De Donker, who's had a strong weekend, no lower than 5th in any of the races that we saw Arthur in yesterday. Now he's stepping down the inside for 2nd place. Lovely move into turn 14. New top 3 order. Just a bit shuffled there from the end of lap 1.
Yep, certainly so. But look at this breakaway that we've got right now, and Haaglen holding on to this one well. I mean, this is good from Haaglen. He's not deployed tyres at all in this one. Those tyres, understandably, when you get to the superheat phase, have been deployed from the bulk of the back of the grid right now as they try to really gain those places. But right here and right now, really delivering in this one. Just behind, well, actually, we'll cut back to that. Tadonka down the inside, says thank you very much, goes for the lead here as they exit out of turn 9, 10 and into turn 11 now. This is an interesting tactic that we're seeing here, and we're seeing drivers that we've not seen at the sharp end. And look at that, Tadonka, the pace that he had there out of the hairpin. He's shot in front, back on board with the live pictures from Devon Haaglen in 2nd place. And you can see here turning in again, and you can see those tyres, they're not new by any stretch of the imagination, but he's still with these lead drivers.
Yeah, he is indeed. Arthur de Donker has not had points from the heats and superheats in terms of championship points so far this season, so he's well on the way to getting a best result of the season through this stage. At the moment, Dan Alleman still has the lead in the intermediate classification. Yes, he's there in 3rd. He'd have another 3 points to go on the scorecard, but he would win a tiebreaker with Riley Cranham. So right now, this is okay for Dan Alleman. The gap back to Matteo Mellis in 4th place is 2.2 seconds. He could just sit and be comfortable right now, though he'll want to not see any battling between the 2 drivers ahead. It almost goes into that time trial phase now for De Donker, Haaglen and Alleman. Fastest driver out there at the moment. Sam Woolley's having a really good start to this race, Anthony. He's up 9 spots, the driver for BMR, and has just gone purple through sector number 1.
Indeed, purple sector 2, though. Gilles Herman also looking strong. He's stepping up through the field, of course. This year's FIA Karting Academy Trophy winner is Gilles Herman. So great to see another Belgian. He's been the 3rd Belgian to win that title, but he steps up in this one and up into P10. So good to see for that one. Back to these top 3, not seeing the aggressiveness from Dan Alleman in this stage. He's in, like I say, he's in, I think, well, what mode would I say he's in? Calm? Controlled mode, I think is a good way of putting it. And, you know, he's just looking at the situation ahead, assessing it and seeing what's going to happen. I think he's waiting to pick up the pieces in a little bit on this one. That's no disrespect, of course, to De Donker and Haaglen. They're both very experienced racers in their own right, but I think he's just waiting to see, right, who can I take first? Right, first, there we go, Haaglen down the inside. That's 1 down. De Donker, when can I take it? Well, he's going to communicate with Haaglen there. He's going to say, right, let's work together. Let's close that gap up. Already they've done that. You can see the slipstream has kicked in. That's nicely done. Mellis still there in P4 as well. He's leading that trio, that group behind. Maker is still there as well. Bachelor, Sam Woolley, like you were saying, 11 places gained. He's been looking mighty quick, and he's still going purple in those sectors.
Yeah, and he could be getting himself back up to the top 36 in this race with this kind of performance. It's the same situation as we saw with X30 Mini. About half of the total field are not going to make it through, or just under half are not going to make it through, of course. Top 36. So on average, you would expect 18 drivers from this race and 18 from the next one to go through. That will all be determined once the points are tallied up. All the points from yesterday in the intermediate classification are carried over, remember, and added on are the Superheat points at the end of this race. End of lap number 6. Dodonka leads. Good pace. 56.1 last time around. And there is Sam Woolley, who is absolutely flying through the order. That is now 5th place, past Stig de Rademacher. This is a really impressive driver from a driver who started the season well, and a good result at the IAME Winter Cup earlier in the season. This is more like it from Sam Woolley. This is what's been missing perhaps in the last couple of rounds. Another move, now up to 4th.
Yeah, this is nicely done by him. And again, just that consistency all the way throughout. I think his racing has really helped develop him as a young driver. But again, we'll hold our fingers crossed to see what he can do in terms of closing this gap, because that is an almighty gap that they've got between themselves and the lead group. Still there, Hagelin at the moment in 3rd place, has not been able to attack. There's Jos Mulder. Now, we've not said much about him in these early stages. He's down into P7. We'll make that P6 now, as he's got past Return Melis, so he's back into P6 in this race. And looking at the intermediate classifications here, Andrew, as well, he's promoted Green and Dodonka up to 3rd and 4th in the points with this position.
Yeah, he has, but he could get them back depending on how the rest of this race is. There goes Alleman down the inside. Well, that will help Just Mulder in that battle in the intermediate classification. Zach Green will race in the next one, of course. Less than 4 laps to go. Keeping an eye on Woolley, 55.8 last time around. The gap is 3 seconds. So these guys at the front don't want to fight too hard. I should mention, of course, Sam Woolley hasn't been in the last 2 rounds, but you know, it's where he had a bit of promise, but in the end was 9th in the final. This is a good end to the season, it would seem, for Sam Woolley. There he is in the red and white BMR, but Arthur Dodonka's going to step down the inside of Dan Alleman, retake the lead of this race. Alleman quite safe on the outside because, again, as long as he can hold himself in this top 3, he's going to take pole position for the final later on today. It's a low-risk scenario for Dan Alleman. He doesn't need to fight this one too hard.
No, he certainly doesn't, but I think he's going to fight it hard, though, as he looks again to the outside to try and get the switch back. That's not going to work out because, of course, the track comes in too quick and is actually going to lose out on 2nd place as through goes Devon Hagelin, and he moves up into P2. Now, they say to each other, they communicate, they say, let's go, let's catch up, but again, is that going to be the case here? I mean, in the juniors and then especially the seniors, if you're on your own, you can still break away. These karts have the power to break away. Unlike the minis, you need to have a rear gunner to help push you through as they go through. But again, keeping an eye on this lead fight. No changes as they go in towards turn 1 and 2 this time. But again, Dodonka is under immense pressure right now because Hagelin and Alleman, they have worked together and they've closed straight back in.
I tell you what, Sam Woolley took 9/10 of a second.
Oh, big
down
dent.
the inside goes Hagelin. It's not going to work though. Dodonka reads it well. Gets back down the inside. Alleman steps the inside to follow through on that inside lane. That's nice driving, really nice driving from Dan Alleman. He knew there was going to be a gap down the inside to almost just slipstream in and through the braking zone behind Dodonka there, and that's a relatively easy move to 2nd place. Little communication between himself and Hagelin again to say, no, we've got to keep working here, don't scrap too much. That's a little bit of a slower exit off of 13. That gives the opportunity for Hagelin to step down the inside into 14 and go back up to 2nd place, and Sam Woolley will be liking this. There he is in the number 34. The gap was 3 seconds a couple of laps ago. It's now 1.6, and it's going to get smaller again because Hagelin stepped down the inside once more. We're on to the final lap now. This is a much fiercer fight, Anthony, than I thought it was going to be in this Superheat.
It certainly is, but I'm here for it. We'll have to see what Sam Woolley can do because that gap is still quite immense. He'll need a miracle to close up to these 3, but at the moment it's still Hagelin who leads the way. Dodonka cannot find a way through just yet into the final sector of this lap. They're going in towards turn 11. Hugging that inside line is Hagelin. What's going to happen through turn 12? You've got many eyes watching this corner, and all of these eyes are going going to see that inside line get completely covered off by Haglin. De Donker's now under pressure from Alaman. Alaman could send it down the inside here, but he's going to go to the outside. He's going to throw the dummy and switch back through. He gets into second place and holds on to that one, but Devin Haglin's going to take second, and who's going to get third? It's
Woolley.
Sam Woolley. He did get that miracle. It wasn't a win, but a podium nonetheless, gaining 15 places in that race. Superb.
Really good run there from Sam Woolley. That will be a result that takes him surely back into the top 36 in the intermediate classification. A well-earned result, but your winner is Devin Haglen. And for Haglen, at the moment, in 8th place in the intermediate classification, so will at least be on the outside of row number 4 for the final. Could be even better depending on how other drivers do in Superheat 2. Dan Alaman will have pole position for the final.
He will.
That is secured. 5 points across the 3 heats yesterday and that Superheat. That cannot be beaten by any driver in Superheat number 2. What a run, what a weekend so far for the Swiss driver.
Yeah, no, again, you can't really have a better one on that. Well, you could, but yeah, I mean, really strong performance from him, 3rd in qualifying and only a 3rd place in those qualifying heats. There's a look at the provisional classifications at the end of that one. Haglen, Alaman, Woolley, De Donker, Mulder, Stig de Redemaker, the top 6. Herman Mellis, Bachler and Svardalati rounding out the top 10. Nikita Nikashov from Krakauskas. Then it's Simmons. Then it's Senna, Mintuna from Galimberti, Zhao Shizhen. Then it's Carrier, Smith, and Pinera, Papafilippou, Kozlowski, Lemon, Ver, Doe and Redondo, all 26 karts that started that race. Finished. There's a look at the intermediate classifications. Alaman, like you just said there, Andrew, he cannot be beaten now. He's going to be starting on pole for that final. And again, he's a driver who's not in contention for the championship, so he's again a driver who's in the mix that can really play dividends with the drivers who are 2nd and downwards in that championship fight. Here's the highlights from it. Just Mulder I want to talk about quickly. Not the race he would have wanted on that one. The green helmet unfortunately dropping well back into the field.
Yeah, it's not how he would have wanted to start the day, but he's still in a decent position in the final intermediate classification. Yeah, he pulled himself back up to 5th place and will at least be on the 2nd row of the grid for the final. Could still be on the 1st if there's problems in the next race for Cranham and Green. Back to this one, though. This was, as I say, really fighting start for Devin Haglen there. It was not easy for him, but he fought his way back up. That was the outside view for the move that he did on Dan Alaman on lap number 2. This was the onboard view of it. Dan Alaman, knowing that he didn't need to make any risks, really, held that open line for Haglen to commit down the inside and get the position. Arthur de Donker there as well, and these 3 drivers traded the lead back and forth and maintaining a gap bit to the next group behind, but it was Sam Woolley who would come through the order, absolutely flying up from the middle of the grid to then start challenging them. And yeah, I just wonder whether the tactics would have been better for that trio to stay in a formation for the earlier part of the race, because then they could have fended off fully Sam Woolley, because here he was absolutely tearing through the field. This was him down the inside of Matteo Mayes. Brilliant result. It's just a shame we haven't seen it earlier in the weekend from Sam Woolley.
Yeah, it's a shame, but, you know, save the best till last, you know, a lot of people say. And to answer that question on, you know, maybe a better tactic of staying line astern, they had no idea Sam Woolley was on his way through. They had no idea, because look how far ahead they are. They were just thinking, yeah, we're all fine. There was Alaman diving to the inside. That really kick-started this last battle between the two of them. And here, the live on board for Devin Haglen, giving a really strong view of what you could see. These moves down into turn 2, I love them, but my goodness, are they risky? Yeah,
it's the highest, in terms of speed, highest speed point of the circuits, and you've got that initial turn in through turn 1 where it can be quite tight. There's not a lot of space. It's not one of those corners where the natural racing line, you get a sweep all the way from the outside and leave the gap open. It's like threading the needle at 125 kilometers an hour for everybody out there, but we've seen some stunning moves across all 3 classes. The race continued on. This was on lap number 10. Dan Alaman, some really smart driving, I thought, from Dan Alaman in that race, picking his lanes, almost in a bit of a NASCAR style of going, yeah, they've got the momentum, I'm going to follow you through. I did it there to get back up to second place. Hagelin then fought on. This was the move down the inside. I just wonder, was there a little bit of a wide moment there for Arthur Dodonka? Did he get a little bit of understeer that left the door open for Hagelin to get through? Sam Woolley was still charging in. There again, Dan Alleman, last minute switch to the inside, gave him second place. And look at the slingshot that Sam Woolley gets around the outside. Keep your foot in it. There it is across the line for third. Good win, though, for Devon Hagelin. Looking forward to see how he can race in the final.
Yeah, exactly. And that moment there for Arthur Dodonka, checking the natural check over the shoulder for the inside, sees, oh, there's no one there. Then looks forward, looks over to the left-hand side, and no. I've been overtaken. And that's, that's one of those heart-in-the-mouth feelings. But Devon Hagelin then taking his superheat win then of the day. Dan ran second and Sam Woolley third. But we'll turn our attention now to the second superheat for the Junior X30 category, because this one has got a smattering of potential championship drivers in it, not for the win, but for second downwards in this. The form of Ty Butley's in this race, Zach Green, Riley Cranham in this race, Benjamin Maniac and Toby Gale, who will sit second, third, fourth, fifth and sixth in the championship standings at the moment. They're in a position to really shake up this intermediate classification as well. Starting on pole, Riley Cranham, of course, in this one, fourth in the championship, but certainly having a very good weekend in this one. Second, a win and a fourth. Really strong results. We caught up with him after yesterday's racing.
Here with Riley Cranham. Riley, pole position for Superheat 2 tomorrow. Before we get on to that, where do we start with that race? That was busy. That was a busy one.
Yeah, it was a very busy race. I mean, we got shuffled back at one point and went a bit far backwards, but it's all about the positions we gained, which obviously puts us on pole for Superheat 2.
And looking really good again, you and the Fusion guys this weekend. I know Harrison's not racing; he's not having his run to the line, but it makes you the focal point of the team. Do you think? And do you think you can still get in that top three in the championship?
I mean, top three in the championship's always possible. I think the team are doing a really good job this weekend. I mean, they're helping us out loads, so we'll see how we go.
Superheat tomorrow. You're going to be on pole position for the second of them. How are you going to be tackling that?
I don't know yet. It's a bit of a different one. Obviously, we've been starting on the outside all day. I mean, we'll have a look at it tonight and see how we go tomorrow.
Good stuff. Well, we'll catch up with you tomorrow, Riley. Best of luck, and we'll see you on the front row of that grid for the Superheat.
Thank you.
Excellent stuff there for Riley Cranham. Great to hear from him, and he starts this one on pole position. Zach Green starting alongside. At the moment it's third in the intermediate classifications. Ty Butley and Toby Gale on the second row of the grid. They'll have Alex Pineda and Benjamin Maniac on row 3. Quintin Van Leeuwen and Archie Owen will round out the top 8 on row 4. Evan Purcell, the pole sitter from qualifying, not having the qualifying heats he wanted. Good results in his first and third. That middle one dropping down to 28th place. He'll have Nilas Malik for company alongside. Hugh Rana and Felipe Rice round out row 6 with Didier Krieft and Gabriel Benecki on row 7.
Wouter Bergenu and Arthur Huang form up the 8th row of the grid. On row 9 it's Moritz Mur and Leonidas Peruzzi. Mohamed El Bouzaki starts on row number 10 alongside Janis van den Bosch. Row 11, Ben Gertz and Noah Nolken, an all-German 11th row of the grid there. Aurelio Gustinelli and Amir Abali go from the penultimate row of the grid, row 12. Row 13 in a 26-strong field, 25-strong field. We'll recover why in a moment. Sarah Effort on that one. Harrison Mackie does not take the start of this race. He has already secured enough points even before drop scores have come into play. There he is, right there, just in the Blue Fusion Motorsport shirt behind the CCTV camera pole there. The only way he could lose the title is if he had a disqualification from the races this weekend. You can't drop a DQ.
Yeah, if he jumped over that fence and started racing in this one rapidly in this one, yes, he'll get disqualified from the weekend and he'll lose the championship. So just stay there and watch.
Stay there. You can't get disqualified from a race that you're not in.
Exactly.
So that is the reason why. But for Riley Cranham, opportunity, new de facto team leader effectively for Fusion Motorsport this weekend to get on the front row for the final if you can win this race. Into the tram lines, lights are out, we're racing once again in X30 Junior, and the two Brits go side by side into turn one. It's Tyke Buckley though who's got down the inside and into second place. This I feel is going to be a proper dress rehearsal for the final as there's drama towards the back of the field, numerous drivers off. I think everybody's going to get back on circuit. A couple of the fusions are involved.
Felipe Rice was one of them, and it was around that mid-pack sector, unfortunately, around maybe Jugrana as well, maybe Gabriel Benecki also involved. In fact, I can tell you who was involved. Gabriel Benecki was one, Wouter Bergenu was another, and I think Janis van der Bosch was another as well. But the biggest loser in that one, I think, was Felipe Rice, but he's back in the race.
Yeah, and that's a shame for Felipe Rice, because whilst he's on the inside of the top 36 cut-off before this race, a bad result here could push him out. Down the inside there, Evan Purcell for VDK Racing fighting through the order. Keep an eye on Quinten van Leeuwen there in the number 54, the bright blue and black machine, because he's been very, very quick here this weekend. Had a bit of bad luck in the first round of heats. That's why he's starting a touch further back in this one, but got off the main racing line there and had a Archie Owen going down the inside for Croc Promotion. On lap 2 then, Cranham leads by half a second clear of Buckley. Maniac's had a good start as well, is up to third, and in fact that's changed because Pinheira's now come through into third. Maniac shuffled down to fifth. Evan Purcell down the inside. I've been really impressed with Evan Purcell this weekend, Anthony. This is, I always like to see this in a final round of the season. When you're not in a championship battle,
give it everything.
Your best round of the season, and this has been a huge step forward for Evan Purcell. He's got lots of right to be proud of how he's driven this weekend.
He certainly has. Like I say, those good results in his first and third heat, a P5 and a P4, pole position in qualifying as well. He's had a superb weekend. There, Green pushing his way through back into third place. Now he leads that second train of karts. Maniac down into P4 now, but Pinheira's going to fight through. So is Evan Purcell. Look at Purcell on the outside here. He's going to struggle to get his kart back on the inside, and Gale's getting involved now. Toby Gale down the inside. Spoke to him this morning. He had helmet hair before he'd even started racing. I think he'd only just woken up from his caravan at the circuit, but it's certainly looking very strong in this race. Benecki, now fastest driver out the circuit, so despite getting caught out in that first incident, is pushing his way back through. And again, confirmation tyres in this one. Again, it's everyone in that second half of the grid who's all deployed a fresh set of boots on wagon. These top two here, Cranham and Buckley, breaking away nicely at the front. This is exactly what they need.
Yeah, this is a nice calm run at the moment for both Riley Cranham and Tyke Buckley, two very experienced drivers with very experienced teams as well in X30 Junior. Into turn 2 after the flat out turn 1, immediately hard on the brakes from 125 kilometers an hour down to a much lower speed in what is one of the tightest corners on this circuit. Tyke Buckley's the fastest driver out there now, 56.950. Just closed the gap to less than quarter of a second. Zach Green is still there as well. Zach Green at the moment would be in third place in the intermediate classification. That would be good for 8 points. He would close the gap a little bit to Tyke Buckley, who would be in 6th place in the IC, so it would very much roll on that battle for second place in the championship into the final. It could be key though here for Buckley. If he can get through past Riley Cranham. Cranham's got a good buffer at the moment. He doesn't, as things stand, need to win this race. Buckley though is going to want to take advantage. We're on to lap number 5.
We are indeed still a long way to go in this race. Now I am seeing marshals running in the distance. I'm not sure if they're just running back 2 positions, but I'm seeing some drivers have retired from the race. Felipe Rice is one of them, and I think Aurelio Gustinelli has been involved in an incident because he's gone down to 24th, maybe with Leonardo Peruzzi also involved in that one. So that is a big shame. Zach Green now with the fastest lap of the race. He's broken away from Gale. There is confirmation. There was some marshals running, and that looks to me like that could be Aurelio Gustinelli out of this superheat.
Yeah, real shame, and for Gustinelli that will be the end of the weekend, because Gustinelli was on the outside of the top 36 before this race. Warning flag for the number 50 of Nilas Malik, currently 8th on the road. That will be a 5-second penalty. So at the moment that would drop Malik all the way down to around 20th place. That's not good news. Malik is one of those drivers trying to defend a position in the top 36. Purcell down the inside. Rough and tumble there with Toby Gale. Benjamin Maniac on the outside. Quinten van Leeuwen looking to take advantage of all of this. This is the fight. 4th place.
Certainly is. They're pushing their way through, but again, they're losing time here from the lead battle as Maniac goes back down the inside. Quinten van Leeuwen now gets the opportunity out of the exit of turn 6. He's got the slipstream, he's got the toe. Can he get the position? The answer to that is yes, but only one of them as Gale goes backwards. Just the one, but he's still in this fight as he's down now to P7. So Cranham and Buckley still lead the way. Back with them on your screen right here. Very close between the two of them. No space right now, but Green is the question mark, isn't he? Now, Green is securing his 3rd place spot in the intermediate classification right now with this position. If he was to drop any more, he would be in bother. He would lose places in the points. But right now, he's closing in on these two just in his own right. And this might be the reason why Buckley is trying those different racing lines here. He is putting Cranham under immense amount of pressure right here.
He is indeed. It's one of those curious situations with how drop scores can work because, well, Buckley right now 6th in the points. Yeah, he could maybe get up to 5th if he could get through, and other things can happen out there. But I think this is going to be his drop score for his heats and super heats because he's been very strong through these earlier parts of weekends up to now. For Green, he had a 9th place earlier in the season at this stage, so there's a lot to be gained here by finishing higher up, in the top 5. So, Buckley just needs to keep pushing on to keep that gap there. In terms of his championship position bid, his biggest friend at the moment is that gap of air around 0.4 of a second, stopping Zach Green making any more progress in this race. This battle for second is going to roll on to the final and could converge to be a very, very close affair in the last race of the season. We're on to lap number 8. Zach Green is a new fastest driver on the circuit, 56.099, and he is closing at quite a rate here. Cranham and Buckley are going to have some trouble in the form of a very, very quick Jamie Green Racing number 68.
He has set the fastest lap in the last 3 laps alone, and Buckley goes to the inside now. That's quite early on, but he can see that Green's closed in. He doesn't want any part of it, but Cranham's going to fight back instantly, straight back down the inside. But here's Zach Green. It's a 3-car battle now for this superheat. It's not going to affect the pole position start for the final, but it's certainly going to help them out in the intermediate classification. Green to the inside, takes 2nd place, but now they've got to work together. They've got to get that slipstream. They've got to get that toe to close back up to Cranham, and they have done that. Again, 2 different racing lines. Buckley takes that much wider entry into turn 3 as he tries to hook it. He tries to look for that switchback through turns 4 and 5. Into 6 they go, down the back straight, and a big check over the shoulder for Cranham just to see the situation, but it's all fine right now. They stay in position.
I would be not surprised at all if Buckley has a go here, because working with Green to try and win this race doesn't actually help him in terms of the championship. The thing is, though, Green, I think, has got the better pace at this stage of the race. I don't think there's anything that Buckley can do sensibly to try and get himself back ahead of Green, apart from maybe having a look into turn 14. Green's having a look himself on Cranham and goes through. But here comes Buckley up the inside. What a run. Cranham's now going to come back at it. This is why we love Genk. That brilliant slingshot run out of turn 14 produces fantastic racing just like this.
Absolutely superb. 3 wide on the start-finish straight there on lap 10, the penultimate lap of this race. They've still got another one after this, so the race isn't over. Hey, Evan Purcell, now fastest driver on circuit, there in 4th place. He's looking at this battle and he's probably just licking his lips underneath that helmet thinking, I want a piece of that cake, and he's going to get some of it.
I'd say he's looking at this and going, go on, lads, keep fighting hard, because I want to be part of this. Oh, and going on to the last lap of the race. Green is still in 3rd place in the IC, by the way. Buckley holding in 6th, so it's still that converging scenario. It would go on to the final, this fight for 2nd place in the championship. We shouldn't forget Cranham's part of this fight for 2nd place in the championship as well. On to the main straight as Zach Green gets half down the inside of Cranham there. Gets a face full of curb for his troubles. Buckley has held the lead through turn 2. Evan Purcell is there. He's caught them. It's going to be a four-way scrap for this win in Superheat 2.
Here comes Cranham to the inside through turn number 5. That's an incredible move. Green's going to send it. He's going to force the move down the inside. Here's Purcell. Purcell now is looking for second place. Can he get it? I think the answer to that is yes, he can. He squeezes Green out of the way. And Buckley, it just holds on to P4, but Cranham's been released now. Cranham's been released. I don't think there's anything that Purcell can do, but that's an incredible recovery for Evan Purcell, the pole sitter from time qualifying earlier on in the weekend, has delivered in this superheat. But Riley Cranham looks to be looking for a front row start for that final. Out of the final corner, it is the Briton on top. It's Riley Cranham in Superheat 2 in Junior X30. Takes the win by 0.3 of a second ahead of Evan Purcell. Zach Green in third ahead of Ty Butley. And Benjamin Maniac rounds out the top 5. Absolutely sublime.
Brilliant race here in Superheat number 2. Riley Cranham takes the win. Will be on that front row. Evan Purcell. Keep an eye on Evan Purcell in the final because he has been so strong this weekend. The only reason why he's out of the top 8 is he had an incident that was not his fault at all in an earlier round of the heats. He's going to be right there in the fight for the podium. Zach Green finishes third in the race and takes third place in the final intermediate classification. Now, due to the way that all the points work with drop scores, that is quite a big gain actually for Zach Green. The gap between Buckley and Green, I reckon, is going to be around 7 championship points in the final. So yeah, that's
going to be a tasty one.
That is going to be a tasty one. Cranham's closed in a fair bit as well. But there's your results. Cranham, Purcell, Green, Buckley and Maniac, your top 5. Quinten van Leeuwen, a good race there into 6th place. Moritz Moore, good run for Moritz Moore there for VDK Racing, up 10 spots to 7th. That should see Moore, I think, through into the top 36 with a good return there. 4 places down, unfortunately, for Toby Gale. Nilas Malik in 9th, but remember, he does, we reckon, have a +5 second penalty.
Look at that, he's got a radio on as well.
He's got a radio on, he's got
Mackey.
full team.
He's full comms. There you go. Apparently he's teaching the other junior drivers how to race, and well, that seems to have gone well with Riley Cranham taking the win on that one.
Absolutely. Arthur Huang was up 6 places in that one to 10th. That was a good run that should see Huang through into the final, I reckon. 11th for Alex Pinheira, 12th for Mohamed El Bouzaki.
Indeed. Let's have a look at the highlights from that one. The start was good for the front, but that mid-pack, it kind of went a bit sideways for a couple. Felipe Rice, I think, getting pinged up into the air just as Kart's got a little bit congested. You can see it here from there. Oh, yeah, just off to the left-hand side. Marshall's quickly on the scene to help assist, but for some drivers getting caught out there. Later on as well, we would see the retirement of Aurelio Gustinelli also, but there you can see other drivers just scrabbling to get back onto the circuit. Eyes at the start of this one, Evan Purcell making those moves in the early stages. Quinten van Leeuwen, who has been competitive this weekend, has been right up there at the sharp end, but in that one, just seemed to drop back, and it was part of that second group and wasn't able to go through. Still a good result, P6 upper position, but still not the results he wanted. There was the retirement from Aurelio Gustinelli, unfortunately, from the race. Not sure what happened to him, but yeah, very unfortunate. Now, this one here, Evan Purcell, I think this was a crucial move to help him close up to those drivers up ahead.
Yeah, he had to get up the road. That was Maniac down the inside of Gale. Maniac, I think, is still going to be a factor in the final as well. He's got that experience of winning a final, of course, earlier in the season at Zawara. With Mackie sitting this one out, he's still the only driver on the grid in X30 Junior this weekend to experience victory this season in the IAME Euro Series. This was the battle, though, at the front between Cranham, Green and Buckley. It went back and forth all the way. It was one of those, if in doubt, flat out for all of these three. I'm sure the maths went straight out the window for them. They were all just trying to take race victory. Some really good runs out of turn 14 as well. This was Green down the inside. I love this from Ty Buckley.
Yeah,
look at him there. Good. Get on the power. Take the initiative on the inside. And then Cranham came back to retake second place. It's one of the best races of the weekend so far.
He risked a lot, though, because, again, look how much curb he took there, and we've seen drivers hit that curb and it all go wrong. Yep. So, yeah, he was very lucky with that one, but that was a great move nonetheless. But as we went on to the sort of last few laps of this race, this is where it really started to heat up. You had Cranham back down the inside. Buckley tried to go through. Then Evan Purcell had closed in. That move there was vital because Purcell just had a big smile on his face, I'm sure, and just went, thank you for second place.
Absolutely, and he held on to it with the move down the inside, in and through turn 7. Oh, there was a little touch between Green and Buckley through the chicane. No problems, though, for Riley Cranham at the end of the race. He wins from pole position. It wasn't easy, but he'll be on the front row of the grid for the final, with Dan Alaman looking to close the season out with race victory. We change, though. We turn our attention back to X30 Senior. Very busy weekend for X30 Senior. They've been through 6 rounds each of qualifying heats over the last 2 days. Let's have a look at how they got on yesterday.
IAME Euro Series round 4 in Genk, and in the senior category on Saturday it was all about a handful of drivers in the seniors. Andy Rattel was a driver to keep an eye on, taking 2 qualifying heat wins on the Saturday and putting himself in second in the top 5 intermediate classification. Cian Geraghty was another, not taking any race wins on Saturday, taking all his points that he took from the first day of racing on Friday, but finishing within the top 4 in the top 5 in the intermediate classification as well. Mattis Meerschout again was delivering the results, only taking the 1 win at the latter half of the day, but certainly delivering a top 5 finish. The same can be said for Heikki Kaltonen as well. Good results for him, and he secures a top 3 finish inside that top 5 intermediate classifications. But it would be that fight between Rattel and Clement Outron that would take the day to the end. Clement Outron would have to deal with troubles with a penalty and drama in the last race, but he would secure pole for the Superheats. Indeed, securing pole for the Superheats with those 4 wins and 2 third places. And yeah, he had trouble. That drama that I was talking about was the engine didn't fire up. And as I was walking back to the commentary box after doing a post-race interview as well, I heard drama for the TV team. Let's jump in. Let's listen to what Clement Outron had to say after those victories.
Here with a driver who thinks a bit relieved, Clement Outron. Very start of the race, what was going through your mind as you were having troubles getting the kart going?
Yeah, in the last hit my car didn't start, so I hope like I'm starting after and I recover the position I lost and I do 3 in the last hit, so it's okay.
But a really good race, a good fight back. You've secured pole position for Superheat 1 tomorrow. You must be very happy.
Yeah, I'm very happy because it's my first time starting first in the IAME Euro Series, so yeah, I'm happy.
What's made the difference this weekend for the performance? What's taken you forward, do you think?
I like the track, so I'm fast and I hope to win tomorrow because it's more point for the championship.
And hopes for tomorrow? Do you reckon you could have more teammates up the front? TB Carter looked pretty quick. Ellie Goldstein looking quick again?
Yeah, I think it's quick, but I'm first, so I'm going and ciao.
Well, good to hear from Clement Outron, starting this one on pole position. Heikki Kaltonen goes from the front row as well, starting alongside. Mattis Meerschout and Danny Carinini, second in the championship. Here, Andrew has got a really strong opportunity to gain some places. Lewis Mackey and Marcus Glum round out row 3. They'll have Vilma Svan and Eloy Gonzalez on row 4. Roxanne Lantinga, who has really impressed over the course of this weekend, will have Riccardo Ferrari starting alongside, and Ferrari has chosen to go for a brand new set of tyres on the left-hand side. Eddie Goldstein and Otto Pukkanen round out row 6. They'll have Mark Lepiccolo and Milan Marjak on row 7. Q Lee and Fred Green go from row 8. They'll have Laurent Sash and Annabelle Briand on row 9, with Austin Gale and Joseph Smith rounding out the top 10 rows in P20.
Hugo Gelate has some good pace this weekend. Starts on row 11 alongside Cal Clark. Row 12, Alexi Constant and George Nassar. Row 13, Maxime Blanchemont and Louis Esser. Mark Granada and Morgan Moore will start on the 14th row of the grid, completing the top 30. It's Enzo Menendez and Charlie Gloom. Row 16, Thomas Van Vliet and Robbie Buckley. Row 17, and David Dragan. It's a 36 kart field, the biggest one that we've seen so far this weekend, and it's completed by row 18. Luca Bertoni and Luca Montebello.
Wind direction has changed. It's a tailwind down the main straight now, so that will help out with drivers behind. It won't help out with the slipstream, though. Grandstand, look at that, filling up massively there. Everyone looking forward to watching the first senior superheat of the day. And like we say, I'm sure any Italian fans watching are crossing everything they can, fingers, toes, for Danny Caronini in this one. And again, second in the championship, his championship rival, Finn McLaughlin. It is still doable for Finn. He's got the support from family and friends here this weekend, but he's got a lot of work ahead of him in that second superheat later on. But eyes will be on that Italian in P4 in this race. We enter now the last corner into the tram lines. We wait for the lights to go out. Clement Utron and Heikki Kautinen on the front row of the grid. We are green and racing, and it's a lightning start for Utron and Michaud, who hold on to the lead. There you can see there's a spin in the mid-pack there. It's a half spin, and some drivers have taken to the grass. Unfortunately, going well backwards there is Endo Menendez from 29th place. He's cut half the track, and unfortunately, he'll have to give up all those places.
Well, indeed, it was Vilmos Farn who had a big sideways moment into turn number 2 and did very well to hold on to it. There's more dramas towards the back of the field. One of the crop promotions
Vilmos Farn.
Vilmos Farn is going to be out of this one. There is the 423, as mentioned, Menendez going back into a proper position to avoid any trouble, any callings from the race officials. But that was a bit of a tense start for a number of drivers. I think a few of them out there wanting to attack in the early stage of this race. Caronini, I think it's down to around 6th place. This is not the start that the Italian would have wanted, and that's not good for him either, because that's one of the TBs down the inside. I think it was that Ellie Goldstein coming through. Yes, it was. So Goldstein up to 6th place. Caronini has got a lot of work to do here.
There's Roxanne Lantinga getting through down the inside, but Michael Piccolo denying that one. Riccardo Ferrari getting through now as well, as they all chop and change. There is QO Lee trying to gain those positions also, and then you can see the Falcon trying to get past as well. That's Laurit Sash from Denmark also trying to get involved. QO Lee looks to the inside of Roxanne Lantinga, gets that move complete as we go on board here, down in towards turn number 7 with Roxanne Lantinga. And again, look at the pace that they've got here as they go through the physicality of driving these senior karts. You can still see there's quite a bit of tread left on that front tyre, so plenty of traction left for pretty much a lot of the drivers. But crucially at the front here, Clement Utron still leads the way from Heikki Kautinen. That's still the case. Mattis Michaud still there in 3rd, and it's trying to communicate there, just saying, right, keep going, don't worry about defending. Let's try and close that gap. But that's a huge lunge there from Mattis Michaud, and he said thank you. I think it was a kind of sorry. I didn't even expect that was going to happen.
That was... Yeah, I think Michaud, that was another one of the unorthodox ones that'll go in the file this weekend. It's one of those, he got deep on the brakes, had enough grip to get to the inside. A little tap on the head now to say, let's think about this. Clement Utron has been really strong this weekend. In terms of checkered flags, he's taken it first 5 times, but he lost one of those wins because of a penalty for going a little bit too early after a slow procedure in round number 5, but has really looked on top form so far this weekend. There's an RSD rocket ship out there as well, Anthony, because I've just noted that Thomas van Vliet in the 244 is getting 18 positions in the space of 2 to 3 laps. That is a magnificent start. He's going to need a really, really big result and a lot of things to happen to make the top 36 cut off of the final, because he started all the way back on row 16. You've got to give him props for trying. That is a tremendous run through the field. Yeah, and looking at my data as well, is that he's not actually got fresh tyres on there either, so that's all done on some used tyres, so that's absolutely fantastic. Mattis Michaud now with the fastest lap of the race. That kart also looking very quick. The KCR Racing team certainly developing a great package for their drivers this weekend, and you can see him closing in on Clement Utron. Mackie down the inside of Kautinen as he moves up now into 3rd place. And again, Lewis Mackie wild card in this. He's not spannering for his younger brother Harrison. He's not racing, so he's got a free weekend to go for it. And like you say, he's been out the cut for 2 years, and he's delivering here nicely. Down the inside there is, I think, Marcus Glum gaining another place there as well. But I think he just stays behind. Goldstein's just behind, and now he goes down the inside. That's Marcus Glum up into P4. Yeah, good run this weekend for Marcus Glum. For Henke Kautinen, this will be a bit of a concern now. He's slipping backwards in this Superheat was running well in preparations here 1 week ago in IAME Series. Benelux was on the podium along with Ellie Goldstein and Ian Eichmans 7 days ago. Here on lap number 5, longest race of the weekend so far for these. Kyo Lee has just gone purple through sector number 1 to keep an eye on the driver from South Korea to be moving through the order. Joseph Smith has just taken 21st place away from Annabelle Briand. Smith needing a decent result here because he's on the outside of the top 36 after last night's results. So again, needs to move forward. I would imagine get into the top 15, top 10 really to nicely secure a position in that race later on this afternoon. Morgan Moore also improving through the field, is up 7 spots, although just as I say that, make that 5 spots back down to 23rd. Mark Granada also having a good run, it's up 10 spots, into 17th.
Certainly is, keeping an eye on this battle. Here's the look on board. Roxanne Tinga at turn number 6. What happened here? Oh, concertina effect. One into the other into the other.
Yeah, that was it. That was earlier in the race.
Just had to click that front nose cone off the wheel there, so we'll have to be careful with that one. Because that's a risky move to try and do.
Yes, it is. Roxanne Lantinga still in this race in 10th place, and yeah, that was on the first or second lap. Danny Caronini looking quite frustrated at the front of all of that as well. And at the moment, still only in 7th place. And well, we've been wondering, haven't we, mate, about whether Danny Caronini's been holding back for Sunday, because across the course of the season, he's had very good Saturdays and good Superheats as well. The amount of points that he can gain in this part of the competition is actually quite small. He needs the big turnarounds in the finals. To do that, he needs to be at the front of the grid.
He does.
We were expecting him to go well in this race, to get himself up the order, and it's just not happening at the moment for Caronini. The pace is decent, but 7th place, well, I don't think in terms of the championship that's going to do it all right now.
No, maybe not, but we'll keep an eye on that. The only thing we can say about it is that now he's got his rear gunner in the form of Riccardo Ferrari right behind him, so maybe they can work as a duo, try and push up to the battle in front. We just saw there Lewis Mackie going for the move down the inside of Matthias Michel. Now into 2nd place. Now this would be Lewis Mackie's best results. I nearly called him Harrison there. This would be Lewis Mackie's best result of the weekend. His best results yesterday, 3rd place. And again, I'm going to call it. He's a wild card in this one. He's my wild card for a final win.
Yeah, he's looking really, really good. He's got himself back in the rhythm. You know, you never are at 100% fitness in terms of what the mind's doing in racecraft when you jump back in after a while away. But this is the side of how good Lewis Mackie is, because it's taken him less than a weekend to get right back on form. There's an investigation flag underway regarding Roxanne Lantinga for the 430. I wonder if that's going to be anything to do with what we saw on the onboard camera. We'll report news in due course. We're into the second half of this one, but yeah, Lewis Mackie it's been brilliant to have him back, brilliant to see him race. It's testament to the work that he's done as a mechanic this year that he's able to race this weekend. And yeah, I fully agree. He is going to be one to watch throughout the course of the rest of this race and that final. And he's going to be up on the top 10, I reckon, with this kind of result. Maybe even better, depending on how things go in Super 2.
Yeah, exactly that. Well, Utron is not broken away. He's not been one of those, yeah, I've got to the front and I'm just going to drive off from everyone else, because Mackie's still there and only 4 tenths behind at the moment. Michel still in close company there. Well, I think, is that a frustrated Caronini? I think it was. I think, yeah, Goldstein's just ahead. And, you know, Goldstein's being an ultimate rear gunner here for Clément Utron as well, because Goldstein, not a wild card, but was missed out in the last 2 rounds of the championship, was entered into the first one at Zuera, so is in this one. It's just taken a big break from the championship, but it's back now for this one. Certainly going to be a thorn in the side of many drivers.
Is indeed.
But,
and
he's got through.
He's got through. So Caronini up to 6th place. He's still got time here to chase up and get back into that top 5, especially if these drivers start fighting. Utron's looking comfortable right now. His pace around this place has been fantastic across the course of the last few weekends. There's a scrap going on here. This is Lee and Ferrari, and Lee is through. Cal Clark looks to be out of this race. That will be the end of the weekend, unfortunately, for Clark, because he was already on the outside of the top 36 before this race in terms of IC. He's just pulled into the pits in front of us here in the commentary box. End of lap number 10. 4 to go. Utron, Mackie, Meerschout, Gloom, Caltern. That's your top 5. Carinini trying to close in there. The gap is around 6.5 tenths right now. It's Keo Lee who's got some really good pace at this stage of the race, Anthony. He's going to be closing in potentially to drive a second in the championship.
Yeah, exactly that. Well, we'll keep an eye on these battles closing in as Fred Green sets the fastest lap of the race, currently sitting in P12 right now behind Otto Pukkanen. Well, now in fact just ahead of Otto Pukkanen, has moved up into 11th place of this race. Like we've been saying, for all of these drivers, this final we're expecting to have immense fireworks, not actual fireworks, wasn't in the budget, but in terms of fireworks on track, 100% we're going to have some massive racing, aren't we?
Oh yeah, it's still going to be open. It's still going to be undecided. It's going to be a reduced number of drivers, we reckon. It was 5 at the start of the weekend. It's more than likely going to be between McLaughlin, Carinini and Luzio. Yeah, they've all got opportunities to gain a lot of points in the final when we get onto it later today. And of course, we've still got the Superheat for McLaughlin and Luzio. We shouldn't forget about that. That's more like it from Danny Carinini. He's just done a 54.642. He's got a bit of help from behind now. In fact, he's got through. So he's got through past Henki Kaltunen. This is starting to look better for Carinini. The trouble is, he's only got 2.5 laps to find his way past Klum, Meerschout and anybody else he can overtake out there.
Yeah, certainly so. That's how he did it, down the inside through turn number 6. And again, nicely done there. And Henki Kaltunen not going to battle it. And there, the communication saying, let's work together, let's go through. And already he's opened up a gap, so he's driven away from Kaltunen. So Kaltunen's not going to be able to pile on the pressure. We could still see a good fight here.
Could indeed. 2 laps of this one to go. Further down the order, David Dragan's had a really good race. He's up 19 places in the Zanki Motorsport 245. He's going to be a little bit too far down the final intermediate classification to make it through, but a strong end to the weekend for the Romanian. Thomas Van Vleet has continued to hold himself up there in the top half. In 16th, he's another one of your big moves in this one. 20 positions now for David Dragan. So we're having a look at Matthias Meerschout there in 3rd place. And could very well be on the 2nd or 3rd row of the grid for the final. Another dark horse, you would say. One of the home favourites here, racing for KCR Racing. They've had a strong weekend. On to the final lap then. Clement Utron has looked pretty untroubled in this race. This has been a very, very impressive performance, not just in this one, but the whole weekend. Clement Utron at the moment looking invincible.
He certainly is. He's going to be the one to beat going into that final, and he's certainly going to shake up those championship standings. Mackie here, though, in 2nd place. This would be his best result of the weekend, so I suspect he's going to try and hold on to it for as long as he can. Meerschout is there in 3rd place, not close enough for an attack just yet, and crucially, Mackie's not going to go defensive either, and that will really scupper Matthias Meerschout's attempt at trying to get this one. Marcus Glum has impressed. 2 places gained, he's put himself up into P4, but eyes, like you're saying, focusing on a man here who's had a near perfect weekend. Clement Utron, what a weekend so far. He can push his way forward. He can smile under that helmet as he looks to be starting on pole for that final later on today. Clement Utron takes the win ahead of Lewis Mackie and Matthias Meerschout, who rounds out the top 3. Glum finishing in P4 with Danny Carinini 2nd in the championship. He recovers back to 5th. And that's not too bad.
Not too bad. The trouble is, I don't think he's going to have overhauled either of the 3 drivers ahead of him in the IC, those being Meerschout, Kaltunen and Utron, even finishing ahead of Kaltunen. He's only beaten him by 1 position. I don't think that's going to be enough to overhaul. I think he'll have held ahead of Mackie, but only just. So, yeah, more work for Carinini to do in the final. There'll be 1 race to decide who is going to be series winner for 2024. We do know, though, that Clement Utron is going to start that final from pole position. The great run that he's had this weekend continues, but there's going to be a little bit of nervousness, perhaps. He's not been in this position before in previous rounds of the season. What can he do? Can he keep calm? I think calm being at the wheel is what's going to be key for Utron as the pressure rises in that final. There is your provisional results. Utron, Mackie, Meerschaert, Gloom and Karenini, your top 5. Kalteren, Lee, Ferrari, Goldstein and Lantinga. We'll see all of those drivers in the final later on today. Difficulties, though, a number of these drivers you're seeing in the second half of the order will not make it through.
No, certainly so. A very tough one for the second half of the field, though. Their 16th place downwards is Loret Sash, Ella Gonzalez, Milan Marzak from Annabelle Briand, Mark Granada from Joseph Smith, George Nassar from Morgan Moore, Charlie Glum from Alexis Constant, Robbie Buckley from Hugo Gillade, Austin Gale from Luca Muller, and Luca Montebello, Menendez from Blanchimand and Svan round out the 33 finishes in that race. The highlights, though, from this one, Andrew, that for Vilma Svan, heart-in-mouth moment, completely sideways in the middle of the pack, and then, yeah, unfortunately there for Endo Menendez, not the place he'd want to be. Perfect view to see what happened, completely sandwiched.
Yeah,
absolutely sandwiched.
Got caught on the curb as well. I think Vilma Svan will still be in the final, but a long way down the order. Real shame for the Swedish driver who did finish the race, but down in 33rd. Here's another look at it, and you can just see being swarmed around there, and everything kind of blocks in through turn number 2, but no problems for Clement Utron, leading from the front off of pole position. This was a difficult time, though, for Karenini. This was the view on board with Roxanne Lantinga. There was the moment that you could just see there the bumper caught in with the wheel. Yeah. And Roxanne just moving it back into proper position. Is under investigation from what we are aware of here in the box. Also under investigation, I can imagine, for what happened there at the start, Enzo Menendez. Yes, indeed. Yeah, cutting off half the track is certainly not in the rule book as something you are allowed to do. But of course, drop way back to the back of the field, let everyone pass. On to lap 7 of the race, and the battle further behind really starting to heat up. Lewis Mackey making his way through the field, as well as others pushing their way through. There's the likes of Kyuho Lee having good races, battling away with the likes of Riccardo Ferrari. They'd both managed to get past Ellie Goldstein later on in the race as well. Danny Karenini on his charge back through as well, working with Henki Kalterin to push his way through. But that race would go the way of Clement Utron, a deserving win as well, because his performance this weekend has been superb. Yeah, it's been a cut above the rest so far in X30 Senior, but the biggest question of all is, can he continue it on for one more race? We'll see him in the final at 2:30, but we're not quite done for X30 Senior.
Oh,
there is a second superheat coming up next, and it is a big one in terms of championship, because Marcus Luzio will go from the second row of the grid. Finn McLaughlin's in there as well. This could be a special one. It certainly could be. Engines fire up as the field makes their way out onto the circuit. Let's take you through that full starting lineup. It is Andy Rattel and Cian Geraghty on the front row of the grid. Marcus Luzio and Clovis Nougarade on row 2. Christian Biasati and Ruben Moya go from row 3. They'll have Bertram Sash and Alex Machado on row 4. Yanis Boulier starts this one on the 5th row of the grid, and I can happily say that it is his birthday today. So happy birthday to Yanis Boulier, who starts on the 5th row of the grid. Raymond Blanc starting alongside Noah Maton and Angelo Melli round out row number 6. Sam van der Heijden and Aaron Ferrazzano on row 7. Finn McLaughlin, championship leader, 8th row of the grid. We'll have Julian Cameron alongside Suleiman Zanfari and Matthias van der Kerkhoff round out row 9, with Hamza Alfoyez and Hugo Besson rounding out the top 20 on row 10. Alessandro Tedesca and Kevin Lantinga starts on row number 11. Gustav Wisniewski and Aaron Garcia on row 12. Row 13, Faris Jalil and Lewis Bird. Row 14, Keanu Vellens and Johan Verrar. Row 15, Louis Coman and Hugo Brun. That's an old French row 15 there. Tess Verschoor and Philip Svensson go from the 16th row of the grid. David Cosma Christopher has got work to do from row 17. He's joined by Martin Guillou. Natalia Granada and Marlon Bayer completes the 36 runners in this one. There are a number of drivers there, Anthony, in the second half of the grid who are going to be pushing on here to try and get their way back into the top 36. And I'm just looking at who's a few rows ahead of them, who is going to be the initial targets for getting through. Finn McLaughlin. Finn's going to have to go hard at the start of this race to fend off those coming from further back. I mean, he's had a lot of practice at it, because the reason why he's starting back there is not that his race pace has been bad. It was the timed qualifying on Friday that set him back into the field, and he's been gaining a number of positions. But this is another tense one for the championship leader. There's lots of unknowns at the start of this race for him.
Yeah, indeed. Qualified 69th out of 110 drivers, so certainly had his work cut out for him for the championship leader going into this weekend. But the man starting on pole position, Andy Rattel, who's 6th in the championship as well, is looking competitive here. He's had multiple qualifying heat wins. His worst result has been a 3rd place, so certainly he's looking competitive here. Their temperature still 18 degrees, but the track temperature has risen now. It's back up to around 32.5 degrees, so it's going to be gripping up now nicely for the field. Lights go green. The second senior Superheat is underway now as they head down in towards turn number 1 and 2 for the first time. Keep an eye on the entire pack. It gets very close in that mid-pack section, but hopefully everyone gets through well. At the front here, they're chopping and changing. Rattel, Cian Geraghty, Luzio as well. Luzio's there in 3rd place. It's the Pantano who leads the way of Andy Rattel, and round and sideways is the 428, I think that
420.
was. Well, 420. Further back in the field, that's Suleiman Zanfari, who's had a bit of a shocker weekend, and he was running around the likes of Finn McLaughlin.
That was a really scary one, because he actually cut over the grass from the exit of turn 5, and well, everybody did fantastically to avoid that out of control machine. That's at the very front of the order. Andy Rattel has broken away, and that is trouble for Ruben Moya. Moya's weekend started so well. It just feels like it's going off the rails right now. Marcus Luzio, I think, was also in the midst of all of that. It's down in around 8th place at the end of lap 1.
He got caught out in that incident. They made contact through turn 13, and that is not gone well at all for the driver 3rd in the championship going into this one. It's helped out a few other drivers, though, as they've managed to break away. There he is right behind, and I can imagine the red mist has descended underneath that visor, and yeah, you can see hands going up, and you can see Moya check for damage. Oh, that is as close as you'd like to get it there. Bertram Sash sending it on Clovis Nougarade. Amazingly, they held onto it, and Moya takes full advantage.
Oh, that was a really tight moment for Bertram Sash. Bertram Sash, who's not made it through to a final so far this season, is so close to doing that here and breaking that run here in Belgium. As someone out of the race there. It's going to be Martin Guillou who's walking away from the scene of the incident. Matthias van der Kerkhoff is in trouble, and Natalia Granada.
No, that is Van der Kerkhoff.
Van der Kerkhoff out of the race. And a real shame. That, I think, will be that'll be the end of the weekend for Matthias van der Kerkhoff. Was on the inside of the top 36, but only just. That's going to be a big points loss, and more than likely we'll see him out of the running. As down the inside goes Biasate. Biasate has come alive, was a little bit off colour yesterday, but another one of the TB kart runners having a strong race here in the Superheat. Geraghty has to pull out of that one. Rattel still there in 2nd place. Where is McLaughlin in all of this? He's 12th. That'll do at the moment, I think, for McLaughlin. Just get in the final. Don't worry about championship points at this stage, because it's very likely that McLaughlin's not going to score any. He just needs to make sure that he's got a chance of running through when we get to the big race later on this afternoon. End of lap number 3. That is trouble for the 442. David Cosma Christopher, who'd had a really good start. That's going to be the end of the weekend for the Romanian. No chance of running back through, as down the inside goes Nougarade for 3rd place. Good move there on Geraghty.
Yeah, certainly so. Battle's not over yet, though, as they all fight their way through here. And that's Ruben Moya still trying to gain those places after that incident earlier on. Alessandro Tedesca sets the fastest lap of the race, currently running in P11, but it's still in this group. There you can see Luzio right to the back of this entire pack. He's fighting his way through, but he's got quite a big group of karts all the way around him. Moya as well, right in the inside of this one, has got Clovis Nougarade just in front, Geraghty just behind, but Biasati and Rattel have not managed to break away too much. They've only got about a half-second gap from the likes of Clovis Nougarade in third place, and they're still kicking off in front of them. So we expect this fight to really heat up. There is a look at your intermediate classification at the moment. Clement Outron cannot be beaten, but Rattel is in a risky spot here now because he could lose out, but not with that move. He dives to the inside and he retakes the lead of this superheat.
Yeah, he's got a good gap to Meerschout in terms of the points, but Andy Rattel is going to want to keep things in his own hands here, with it so close in that gap, in that pack behind. It's in some ways racing like a minis race here in seniors, as Moyer's down the inside, back up into third place. Sash now up to fourth. Nougarade slips back, but it's still there in the top five. Finn McLaughlin in the middle of the fight here with Marcus Lucio. This is championship contenders going wheel to wheel, and the 428 of Noah Maton is in the middle of it as well, and one of the wildcards who's been very, very quick in race trim this weekend. Warning flag, it's a key one, Anthony, the 2.03 of Ruben Moyer.
Yeah, that will, well, I'm not sure what it's for, but it might possibly have been for the incident there at turn 13, but we'll try and figure that one out later on. Yes, Finn McLaughlin, that's a biggie there. Well, here's Moyer down the inside. This is at turn 6. And that move there, that's spot
okay.
on, that's fine, that's all good out the corner. But he checks over the shoulder just to see the situation. Right, eyes on this one here, as this is a little further back. This is Machado battling away just in the back of this pack. This is the front of the pack right now. Rattel, Biasati, Moyer, who's now got that 5-second time penalty, will have to really dig deep in this one, see if we can help him out. Now, where is Finn McLaughlin? He's still there in 11th place. We saw a glimpse of him battling away with that huge group of carts, and hopefully he's managed to escape that one because he does not want to get blown into that group.
Well, no, he's not at all, and he doesn't want to pick up any kind of 5-second penalty like he did in one of his races yesterday. He's doing enough to get through right now as well in terms of the championship. It's going the way that we thought it would be at the start of the day. So Moyer and Ferrari, whilst having decent weekends and not scoring well, Moyer's down the inside of Biasati for second place. But really, Moyer, at the moment, he's not even in the top 8 of the final intermediate classification. He said at the start of the weekend he needs to be winning. He needs to be maybe second or third. That's not going to happen here, so Moyer's going to be exiting the championship picture. Same situation for Riccardo Ferrari. Caronini in 6th place. This is actually going all right. He's still moving forward relative to where he was at the end of Saturday, and closing, well, but he's going to be in a position where he can close the gap on Finn McLaughlin if he has a strong final. Luzio's still going to be in play as well, with Luzio there in 7th place now in the final intermediate classification. It's still going to be those three, with McLaughlin, of course, being the other one who will be fighting for the title in the last race. It's going to be a tense one when we get to 2:30 later on today. Is down the inside. Lovely move once again. Seen that a lot this weekend from Clovis Nougarade. That's good for 4th.
It certainly is, and now he leads that train behind that lead group. So again, they just need to focus now of trying to work together, because again, if they keep scrapping between themselves, they will lose touch of this one. Moyer here is in a difficult situation because he knows he's got that warning flag. He knows he needs to dig deep to try and break away with Rattel. But again, he doesn't want to mess around too much with Rattel, does he? Because it's a teammate. He's trying to start on the front row, and he is fighting for a championship as well as Andy Rattel. So again, he doesn't want to get too much in the way. So it's one of those things where it becomes, oh, do I, don't I? But we'll have to see what happens, because he's going to dig deep, and I suspect it's going to be, no, I'm going for it all the way. And I don't expect anything else from Moyer, because he's such a competitive driver.
Yeah, and then at the end of the day, in terms of the team battle this weekend in X30 Senior, it's very much turning out to be Pantano versus TB carts. So they're going to want to keep things sensible. They're both going to have runners up towards the front, as that was a lovely move. That was Garrity down the inside of Sash for 5th place, and Alex Machado, another one of the TB kart runners, is on the scene now. The Andorran down the inside of Sash at 6th place.
Yep, certainly is. We'll keep an eye on that one as it progresses, but again, sun is shining, air temperature still cool right now for the drivers. This will be good for the engines, the cool air really helping out the engines rev nice and high, keeping it a nice temperature all the way throughout, and we are seeing that. But again, the train is still opening up. You have your finger up in the air, Andrew.
McLaughlin's got to the front of the chase group.
Good.
He's now up to 8th.
He'll like that.
That is important, because He's making life difficult for Marcus Luzio. Luzio is losing out in terms of positions from where he was overnight.
There we're seeing an incident involving a couple of drivers there, the 447 and the 442, unfortunately going backwards. That is Tesfa Shaw and David Cosma, and we did see a warning flag go out to David Cosma. That may be the reason, as round goes to 382, and that's a huge moment there for Gustav Winewski. And amazing, there was a kart that had to take evasive action there. And that was a very scary moment. That is around turn 10 and 9 on the circuit. But that was a huge moment there.
Well, what a way for the weekend to end, unfortunately, for Gustav Wisniewski. Let's have another look at that again. So, yeah, it's coming out of the chicane. This is... okay, it's contact with Marcus Luzio. Two drivers going for one piece of circuit. My goodness me, was that one of the RSDs flying through there? There is Finn McLaughlin. This, I've got to say, has been a brilliant recovery from Finn McLaughlin. He was understandably quite disappointed with how his timed qualifying went on Friday, but he's still there. He's still got things within his own control.
Here is that moment.
5, lap 3, a warning please, 442, contact on 447.
Yeah, confirmation then. It was the warning flag from that incident then that Tesfa Shaw got caught out in, and yeah, for David Dragan receiving that warning flag. Right, we're on to lap number 12 of 14 here. The gap is still 0.6 of a second between Andy Rattel and Ruben Moya. Biasati still there in third place, but is closing in on Moya, actually, I would say, because that gap is down to just 0.4 of a second. Clovis Nougarade still in P4. Geraghty from Machado, Sash from McLaughlin in P8. That, again, can't say it enough. Such a good recovery drive. But we're going to keep an eye on this battle here because Biasati is closing in on Moya.
Is indeed. This race isn't won yet for Pantano Racing Team. 2.5 laps to go. At the moment, the IC would look like this. Utron and Rattel first and second. That would be your front row for the final. Meerschout and Calton not in this race on row 2. Keen Geraghty could hop up a row if you can find some positions in the latter stages of this one, because he's only 1 point behind Meerschout. Karanini would be scoring in 6th place. That would be his drop. That would be his lowest finish in a final intermediate classification this season, so it would not count. It would give him a platform on which to try and write off the 12th place that he had at Zweira in the final earlier on in the season. There is Biasati in 3rd place. 0.4 of a second, 0.5 of a second behind Moya. He's going to have to dig deep here to find a way past Ruben Moya. He's got to catch him first. This is the fight for 5th place. This is Geraghty versus Machado. Keen Geraghty looking for another good result here. His racecraft has been very strong the last few months.
It certainly has, and again we see this for drivers. They just tend to always find new things, don't they? You never stop learning when you're a racing driver. You always pick up new things at every circuit. And as we go on to this final lap, are we going to see some new style overtakes from any of these drivers? For the front 3, I don't think so. For back here, though, Machado and Geraghty, we might see something here, because Geraghty has been looking strong. This position bumps him up to 5th in the intermediate classification, so he's in a strong spot right now for that final later on. And, of course, for the rest of the racing today, he's not battling for the championship, but he could come away with a nice trophy at the end of today. But Andy Rattel has been on fine form here, 6th in the championship, and with this one he will claim some more championship points that will help out his fight through the last few sectors and into the final corner. Oh, and he's backed off. He's allowed Moya to get through, but that's pointless. It's pointless because Moya's got a warning flag. He's got a penalty, so he's still going to win the race on paper. And that's not benefited anyone out at all, so I'm not sure why he's done that.
No, maybe Rattel, hadn't quite got the message that the 203 had got the penalty. So Ruben Moya takes the checkered flag, but with that warning flag, he shakes his head there. I don't think he's
he knows.
with everything that's happened.
You gave me that, but there was no need.
Yeah.
So that is a big shame for him, and he's very frustrated. He's very frustrated with that.
Utron and Rattel, that'll be your front row for the final later on this afternoon. Meerschout and Caltren on row 2, although actually, because Keane Geraghty's going to benefit from the 5-second penalty from Moya, so that's very provisional, because that's only 1 point covering Meerschout, Caltren and Geraghty. Carinini will be on the third row of the grid. We'll be starting the final, knowing that if he can win the race, if he can get a good finish, he has a chance of overhauling Finn McLaughlin's tally in those championship standings. Will be on the third row of the grid. Nougared and Mackie on row 4. There is a provisional result from the second and last X30 Senior Superheat. Moya takes it on the road, but remember, had a warning flag earlier in the race. Rattel and Biasati, second and third on the road. Nougared and Geraghty, Machado, Sash, McLaughlin, Tedesca and Blanc all in the top 10. Marcus Luzio 11th will still mathematically have an opportunity to win the title, but that is not the result that Marcus Luzio would have wanted when he woke up this morning. Meliangelo 12th, Noah Maton in 13th. Kevin Lansinger, I reckon, will be in the final with that. 8 places gained up to 14th. The overtaking machine hopefully rolls on into that final. Aaron Ferrazzano completes the top 15.
Julian Kamen and Silvan Zamfari round out the next 2 positions in 16th and 17th place. Aaron Garcia from Sam Van Heiden in P19. Lewis Bird with a gain of 6 places finishes inside the top 20 from Hugo Besson and Louis Camon. Natalia Granado with 12 places gained. Here's a look at the highlights from that one, and the start, Andrew, for Andy Rattel, I think was good, but for Marcus Luzio and that incident with Ruben Moore later on in the lap, that's the one that really shook up the field and I think really opened it up for the latter stages of that race, didn't it?
It did indeed. Say Marcus Luzio was looking to get on the front foot in the early stages. This was some of the action in the second half of the field. That is, was that Granada going round in the middle of the road. In fact, Natalia Granada did very well to come back through the order. Won't make it through to the final, unfortunately, but gained 12 positions nonetheless. The rest, I think, that was the scary moment, to say, for Sullivan's Zanfari, and everyone did very, very well to avoid what happened there. This was later on in that first lap. This is where it's all going to get a little bit close. Moya and Luzio getting together and losing a number of positions as a result, and it never really got any better from there for Marcus Luzio. No,
it certainly didn't, did he? He ended up backwards. You can see him there battling in the background there. The rest of it, Clovis Nougared, a really impressive drive from him, not gaining any places, but holding his own in a race that so many drivers were looking to gain places in that one. And that's what we mean in these superheats, that it is really high risk for drivers who are just in that top area looking for a race. That was the unfortunate time there for Matthias van der Kerkhoff in the early stages of that race. Not the result he wanted, and I think with that, his weekend over. There was scary moments there later on. Some drivers completely missing turn 8.
Yeah, I think that was Aaron Garcia running wide. This is how the weekend would end in terms of competitiveness for David Cosma and for Tess Verschoor. They will not go on to the final. Lap 3. Ruben Moya and Andy Rattel trying to move back up through the order. Andy Rattel controlling things at the front, but Biasati fought through to the front of the field. Good run there from Nougared. I think Nougared's a proper dark horse when we get to the final later, Anthony, because he's got experience of taking race wins this weekend. Got a couple of them the back end of yesterday, and yeah, maybe just holding something in reserve, knowing that he's got nothing to lose when we get on to 2:30 later today.
No, exactly, because again, he's not part of the championship fight. He's just looking for some silverware and see what he can do. This was Rattel retaking that lead away, and Biasati there would end up dropping back. He would fight back, though. He would get P3 at the end of that race, so we saw him battling away. So he did recover to that spot. Then this very scary moment for Finn McLaughlin, I can imagine, just hitting that curb. And I think, oh, if that had been any worse, that could have really thrown the championship out the window.
Yeah, and that was with one of his title rivals as well, Marcus Luzio, through the chicane. Alex Machado had a good race once again, up to 6th place. The second half of this one, Ruben Moya, knowing that he had that warning flag, needed to get up the road, set about moving towards the front. Geraghty down the inside of Sash there. Good to see that Bertram Sash, sometimes it doesn't happen. A driver who has a really good qualifying, all the hope for the weekend, gonna make the final, and then it goes wrong. That has not been the case for Bertram Sash this weekend. He'll be through. That was the scary moment for Wisniewski, losing it out of the chicane. That was the end of the Polish drivers the weekend. And this was the orchestrated finish at the end. Yeah, if Moya hadn't had the 5 seconds, I could understand why that would happen. Because just trying to get Moya a little bit further up the order in the final intermediate classification, but I think Andy Vittel was just not aware that that was a situation.
I don't think
he'll still be on the front row for the final later on today.
Yeah, indeed. Well, there you can see the frustration for Ruben Moya, but I'm sure he can keep his head held high. There is going to be a busy race later on today. We are not over with the senior races. We've had the 2 superheats, but now comes the consolation race. These are the drivers who didn't make the cutoff in the top 72. This is 73rd down to 108th. In the order. This race has no progression. After this one, it's to the caravans and off you go home. But so let's take you through the starting lineup for this one. Carl Lutard and Johan Aluja going from row number 1. Luca Horton and Luke Taylor will take row 2. Benjamin Borg-Jeremia and Wesley de Goy round out row number 3. Turbin Grundel and Miguel Silva go from row 4. Emanuele Leodikis and Andrea Piravano go from row 5. Lewis Tort from CJ Bennett on row 6, Morgan Knudsen and Asia Gassase on row 7. Then it's Luna Clay and Alessandra Biggie on row 8. Kevin Backer, who had that big moment yesterday, starts on the row 9 with Romeo Russell alongside.
On the 10th row of the grid, due to go off from that one are Amelia Van Overberger and Luis Aguiar. Pork White and Marlon Vatter start on row number 11. Jana Visa and Nicholas Simic start on row 12. Florian Dierda and Eric Vass due to go off on row 13. Marcel Maciejewicz and Maximiano Radek de Silva start on row 14. Row 15, Dylan Patel and Matty van der Broek. Row 16, Sophia Sanfari and Luca Mann. Row 17, Freddie Housley and Victor Agerter. Jeremy Swan and Juan Pablo Girard make up the last of the drivers. 36 of them due to go out in this one. Understandably, not everyone takes the start in this one. I think we've got about 10 or so drivers who we won't see out in this race.
Yeah, indeed. And one of them does include Kevin Backer, who had that monumental moment yesterday. And we do hope he is all right, because well, there's no easy way of saying it. He crashed at 125 kilometers an hour and he rolled 3 times at turn 1, and it was an incredible moment. And again, but he did walk away, which was the biggest thing from that. So hats off to him, and we do hope that he is all right. Right, the field then getting themselves ready for this one. This is a last hurrah for these drivers. They're here at the circuit. The karts are here. They've got the fuel. They've got the tyres. Hey, let's have one last race and see what we can do in this one as it lines up. Now, this is going to be a tricky one for these drivers to form up, because there is a smattering of karts that are missing from there.
Yes.
And, of course, they have to leave the gaps. And there you can see a little bit of confusion just in the background, because, yeah, they have to keep those spaces there, which is quite difficult to do when you've got a rolling start. Lights are going green. We are racing, and it's a good start then for Carl Lutard, who holds on to the lead, but not for much longer, because Luca Horton takes the lead of this one. The 324 sends it down the inside and takes full advantage of an opening that did appear. The rest of the field slot through behind. Everyone is through the first few corners unscathed. Down in towards turn 6, but that's not gone well at all. And straight off the circuit. And there's more debris. There's karts coming off. And you can see there the 432 is off the track there. Who was involved? I think was that Lewis Tort was one of them. Was that Carl Lutard as well? Another one. Yeah, he's off the track and out of this race.
Real shame for Carl Lutard, who's well in this race, because he had 2 unfortunate incidents on the first lap of his qualifying heats yesterday, and his race weekend ends in a similar fashion, just down at turn 6 this time. And yeah, real shame for Carl Lutard, because there was nothing he could have done about that situation.
No, he couldn't have done it indeed. Well, back with the front runners then. It is Horton who leads the way from Emanuele Leodikis, who's up 7 places into P2. Johan Aluja in 3rd place as Benjamin Borg-Jeremia sits in P4 right now. You've got Acer Garcia in P5, pushing strong, up 9 places in this race. Alessandra Biggie in P6, up 10 places. So again, with those drivers missing and those gaps that are formed up, you've got some drivers who've got some really big gains in this race.
I have indeed. I think the biggest of them is Freddie Housley, up 18 spots from where he's due to start in this race. 11 non-starters. It was Louis Tor who was the other driver involved in the incident that saw Carl Lutard leave the race. That's down at turn number 6 on the first lap. Round to complete the second lap of this consolation race. Let's have a look at the replay. So this is down. I think Lewis has just got his braking a little bit wrong there. Carl Lutard, unfortunately, hit up the rear, out of the race. Someone's chain guard has been hit for 6 there.
Is that chain
cricket
guard?
match?
I don't know what that is.
It might be
cover?
a part. It could be a battery cover. It could also be one of the end pods of a rear bumper that's gone flying there. It's gone over the rope. On to lap number 3 then. Luca Horton is your race leader, and Luca Horton, who looking to finish the season strongly and have a bit of a flurry to the end here. Another driver who on the race pace probably should have been in the Superheats, but some unfortunate retirements across the course of Friday and Saturday scuppered those plans. Let's have a look at the replay. This is into turn 6 again. Oh, there's a good old caving in on the front of that bumper on the 445 of Benjamin Borge. So that's had a meeting with someone or something out there on the race circuit over these last few laps.
Johan Aluja battling away at the sharp end, has Asher Garcia just a company in P5. Trying to push the way through and actually setting the fastest lap of the race there, 55.990. So pushing strong in this race. You can see all the way at the back there, the battle's happening. You've got Emilio van Overberger there as well, who's up 11 places in this race and is running in P number 8.
Good progress there from one of the drivers on home soil. Victor Azoter having a decent race out on circuit. Anthony is up 21 places into 13th now, and well, since that little bit of action on the first lap, all drivers still running, which is good to see. Here's a battle in the mid-pack. I think that's Maximano Radex's silver in the Victory Lane 291 right in the centre of your screen. And a couple of the VDBs out there as well from Germany, Jarno Vriezer and Matti Vanderbroek. Good to have them this weekend as wildcards.
Yeah, indeed. And they've both had troublesome weekends. You've seen Jarno Vriezer, unfortunately, he went off the track in one of the qualifying heats yesterday. He managed to recover. He got back in the race, but unfortunately was well down following the races. So, again, they've had some troublesome weekends, and that is the same for everyone who's in this race. It's just... it's one of those things. You have those race weekends where you make it in, you've had the good results, and you get through into the Superheats, but for some, it just doesn't go your way. And for many, it's, you know, mechanical gremlins, because, again, Emilio van Overberger is one of those. Remember, one of his races, the engine just didn't start, yeah, he didn't even get to start the race. He pulled off on the start-finish straight.
And especially with this circuit so regularly used for continental and international competitions, you know, you may as well go out there and see if you can learn something for next time you're back at karting Genk, next time you're in an X30 senior race, because the international calendar doesn't end here, of course, this weekend. We've got the IWF coming up soon. Should be in Spain. Very much looking forward to that here in this paddock.
Early November for
Early
that
November,
one. Yeah,
yep.
First weekend in November. Very much looking forward to that one. But eyes on this one. I'm keeping an eye on Garcia here in the 4:37. The pace has been strong here right now. Johan Aluja just ahead. Has not started to go defensive. We've seen those little touches of I'm going to look down the inside here and there. But Horton is still controlling this race right now. Leodikis, and there's another one of those little looks. That's exactly what I'm talking about here. That's really closed things up now. So Borja is under pressure here because Johan Aluja, Garcia, Biggie and Vata as well will be able to close in. As down the inside goes Johan Aluja and gets that move done. Garcia tries to follow as well and has the company, but the door is slammed closed. That's a very late lunge there. That wasn't going to work out too well, and Emmanuel Leodikis dropping down the order now.
Yeah, difficult stuff there for Leodikis. Got off the main racing line and fought his way back into hold 4th place. This was the move. Just checking to the inside, and that's it. Got very, very close with Juan Aluja there in the 2.30.
Yeah, certainly so, but they're all still in this race. More action again. It's all kicking off on the exit of turn 14 and 15. The two victory lanes now, I think, will have to work together here to see if they can close in. So Biggie goes through in the 341, but again, his teammate's still going to pile on the pressure here. Leodikis on the outside trying to switch back. It's not going to work out, and Garcia breaks away.
Yeah, good chance here for Garcia to start to move further up the orders, getting 10 places now. Victor Ajuter has got the award of gaining most positions from where he was due to start on the grid. 22 positions now. And Dylan Patel having a good race out there. It is now up into the top 10. It's just got past Emilio van Overberger in the 3:02. That's gaining 19 for Patel. A number of those we should mention, though, is because of a few people not starting in this race. We're into the second half of it. Luca Horton continuing to get quicker and quicker out there. Some really good pace for the driver flying the flag for Bahrain and for GGM Motorsport. 55.536, but Benjamin Borge a little bit quicker on that last lap on a 55.4.
Yeah, purple sector 1 for Benjamin Borge, and it was a purple sector 2 for Luca Horton. So again, they're kind of trading lap times here over the course of this race, as we're on lap 9 of 14 right now. Big gap opened up between these two and the MDC Racing of Jona Luja. And again, loving the liveries for MDC. They've changed from the standard Birrell, the red and white livery. They've got the new now white and lovely high-vis yellow. A lot of people going for the white and high-vis yellow. It does mean that they kind of blend in a little bit with others out there, but certainly very good to see. Investigation flag going out to Emilio van Overberger, so he will have to be careful.
Yeah, I will update you on any news that we get in the box. Regards that one. Back at the front of the order, Horton holds the lead at half a second from Benjamin Borge. Wanaluya in third. New fastest lap of the race has just gone in, as you say, Anthony. Good pace from Anthony Bigi in fifth place now, 55.214. It's a good run there for Borge through turn 6. I think he's closing in on Horton.
I think so as well. We'll keep an eye on that gap. I'm going to cast your mind back to that first lap incident at turn number 6. The debris that we saw flying through the air was, we thought was a rear bumper end, wasn't it? The end of a rear bumper. And there was some dash of pink on it. And a team that I know that has pink on their livery is Pierce Sexton Racing, the PCR team, with Freddie Housley, who has retired from this race. It may have been from him, and that's gone a bit wrong. Is that Jarno Visa, one of them? And it's the treble for Sophia Sanfari, also getting coursed out. So that's gone terribly wrong for them, but crucially, they're okay, and they're back in this race. What happened? There is Sophia Sanfari in the treble 4. Incident further up. Oh, that was a carbon copy. Both of them absolutely sent into the shadow realm there. That was not what you want to see at all.
No, but they get back into the race with 3.5 laps remaining. And, yeah, for Luca Horton, no reason to be worried at the moment. 4/10 clear of Benjamin Borge. This is the fight for 3rd, 4th and 5th. Aluya ahead of Garcia and Bigi there. They've dropped Leodikis. Leodikis has got a comfortable gap to Marlon Vatta in 7th place, and Hawk White's having a strong run in this one as well. Has had some difficulties, of course, across the weekend, being in this consolation race, but has got some good pace. The second of the AT Motorsport team in the standings right now. End of lap number 11. No changes of position in the top 10 to report. 22 drivers still running out there. Jeremy Swan we haven't talked too much about in this one, Anthony. You can see he's continuing to circulate for Falcon Racing Team in 17th place. And the driver who's had his first appearance of the season here in Genk. Here we're looking at the battle for 4th place. A good digging deep here from Wanaluya. He's got away from Garcia. And Bigi's going to have a look down the inside. Lovely move into turn 12. It's good for 4th place.
Superbly done, and delighted with that one. Check over the shoulder as well. And we've seen, oh, look at that. We've got a nice gap now. We can work on closing up to the rest of them. On to lap 13 of 14. Time quickly running out of this race. That gap down less than 0.4 of a second here between Horton and Borge. But let's see what happens in the race. Aluja still there in third place as well, as ready to pick up any pieces, but the gaps have opened up nicely. Someone who's looking very quick out there, Maximano da Silva, is up 17 places in P11, has gone purple, sector 1 and 2, has just set the fastest lap of the race. Confirmation right there on your screen.
Yeah, some decent pace at this stage of the weekend as well, being in the low 55s. Back with the race leader. Not too far to go now for Luca Horton. Into turn 12 on the penultimate lap of the race. And Luca Horton, it's been a frustrating season, I think, for Luca Horton. I remember all the way back to the start of the European calendar, the IAME Winter Cup. He's had fantastic race pace, but I think if there was an award for most bad luck across the course of 2024, unfortunately I think Luca Horton would be one of the strong contenders with that. But this has been a race where he's been able to show what he can do, and will build, of course, with GGM. I'd hope we see Luca at IWF, because as a one-off event, longer event, I think Luca could have a really good run there if he's past the entry list.
He certainly could. Well, for the final time today on this last lap, give it all you've got, ladies and gents, in this race, because Horton is breaking away here, but Benjamin Borg Iremia is closing in just fractionally at every given opportunity. But it looks signed, sealed and done in the last race of the day for these drivers and for the senior X30 category until those finals later on today. It's Luca Horton who will claim the win in the consolation race ahead of Benjamin Borg Iremia. Jan Aluja finishes in third place ahead of Alessandro Biggie. Garcia finishes in P5 ahead of Leonidas Vata from White. Vess from Patel, the top 10.
Good run there for Luca Horton. Controlled it from the front. Got that run down the inside of Carl Lutard to take the lead, and didn't look back from there. And will head home happy that he's given it his best here today in the consolation race. Drivers will return to the paddock. That is the end of their weekends, and we hope to see many of these drivers, whether it be later on in the year in November when we have the IWF races in Valencia, or of course the 2025 IAME Euro season, and they'll also, of course, probably have some races at a national level between now and the end of 2024. There's your provisional results in the consolation race. Horton from Borg Iremia, Aluja, Bigi, Garcia, your top 5, Leodakis, Vata, White, Vess and Patel in the top 10, Radek da Silva, Tor, Bennett, Ajater was your biggest gainer in that race, up 20 places, and Morgan Knudsen complete the top 15. Let's have a look at the highlights from the race. Mainly from the start of the race. That was the move from Luca Horton, straight down the inside. I can understand why Carl Lutard might have been a little apprehensive going into turn 1, because that's where he's had his problems so far this weekend. But unfortunately, it was turn 6 today where things went wrong. And there you see what we reckon was a piece of bodywork off of Freddie Housley's kart, the flash of pink flying through the air. That was a bit of a problem for Juan Aluja over the chicane on lap 1. But Horton from that race start never looked back. No, he certainly didn't. And that was actually quite a lucky one for Johan Aluja, because he'd really bogged down there. He had no power on the exit, was able to walk away there. Unfortunately, our pole sitter from that race, Carl Lutard, looking to be, got a big smack in the back there, didn't he? So never a nice thing to see. But of course, you do have chest guards, rib protectors, anything that can use that have got chest and back protection as well. So those are out there, and hopefully he was wearing one. Rest of the race continuing, though, on to lap 7. And again, we saw the charge through the field from many others as well. Dylan Patel having that good race, making those good positions. Hawk White, Eric Vess was another, but there were still dramas later on in the race as well. This was a very close moment, just getting squeezed out. The 2 victory lanes there of Emmanuel Leodakis and Alessandro Biggie going absolutely wheel to wheel. There was the more drama for 2 others, and unfortunately there for Sofia Zanfari straight off the track, and the same for Jarno Visa. Yeah, and well, they both got back into the race. Visa would finish P20, Zanfari last of the runners, taking the checkered flag in P22. Decent race for Alessandro Bigi, was up 12 places to finish in 4th, but it was Horton's victory from Borg Iremia, and then Aluja completing the top 3 there in the consolation race.
Well, let's have a look at what you can expect to see coming up later on today. The mini-final kick-starting in around 40 minutes' time at 1:30 local time. Then we head over to the juniors for their finals, then the seniors. The championships are still active for the minis and the seniors, so it's going to be an exciting one. We are going to take a short break for myself, Anthony Jordan, and Andrew Mather in the commentary box. We will see you in 40 minutes' time for the finals here at round 4, the IAME Euro Series.